just start small, pick a few things in each category like sleep or brain or recovery. Have a couple of things that you can utilize via better living through science for those particular pain points. And then understand that you have a lot of time to kind of cycle through and try some other things, but don't get everything at once, because then you're just going to have this dizzying array of stuff that stresses you out and doesn't help you.
I'm Luke Story. For the past 22 years, I've been relentlessly committed to my deepest passion, designing the ultimate lifestyle based on the most powerful principles of spirituality, health, psychology, and personal development. The Lifestylist Podcast is a show dedicated to sharing my discoveries and the experts behind them with you. You are so lucky. You know why? Because you're hearing this podcast at a time in history where there's blue blocking eyewear that doesn't suck and make you look like a total nutcase. When I first found out that being exposed to artificial blue light at night trashed my melatonin and then ultimately my sleep, which leads to a trash life, I was super bummed, because if I wanted to go out in public, I had to wear these horrific, really lame blue blocking glasses that probably really didn't work because they were kind of yellowish. They weren't like the right spectrum that really cuts out the blue and green light like raw optics do. But now, alas, we're all super stoked because we can protect our melatonin and our sleep by wearing blue blocking glasses that are really well designed and super cool looking. People barely even give you a second glance because you look somewhat normal, which is awesome. So you can be kind of like a low-key, down-low biohacker, and people just think, at worst, like, oh, that guy's kind of weird. Like, does he think he's cool wearing his sunglasses at night? If they just think that, I don't really care. If they think I'm weird and I also have really bad taste in eyewear, well, that's a double lose, and I'm not willing to pay that price, even for quality sleep. But seriously, I'd love for you to go check out my buddies over at rawoptics.com. That's spelled R-A, rawoptics.com, where you will find some scientifically valid and also very well-designed fashionable glasses. That's rawoptics.com. The code over there, because you know I got you a code, is Lifestylist. That's going to save you 10% off at rawoptics.com. You are in for a real treat today, guys, because today is a special Christmas episode featuring my friend, Ben Greenfield. He's a New York Times bestselling author, a world-renowned speaker, celebrity biohacker, and dad to twin boys, River and Taryn. Here's what's up. Ben came over to my house in LA. We spent over 2 hours going through every single supplement, smart drug, nootropic, herb, biohack on the entire property and turned it into a documentary film. So you can watch this on YouTube, and you can also listen to this podcast because there's so much to learn. This is a show, whether it be the video or audio version, that you're probably going to have to listen to 3 or 4 times to really get it all. There's just so much valuable information presented. Ben is one of those guys who studies the science on health and can actually remember it and hold it all in his mind. He's quite an incredible guy. I study up on the data. I study the science. I figure out if something is viable and has efficacy. Then I get it. I try it. If I like it, I share it. And then I kind of forget about all of the details. That's just the way I roll. I just want to move on to the next thing. But Ben goes through my whole house, and I just learned so much from him during this recording. And he also learned a couple things from me, if I don't say so myself. So we talked all about deuterium-depleted water. We talked about microdosing psilocybin and LSD, the kind of crazy smart drugs like paracetam and deprenyl, and the transcription strokey with methylene blue and nicotine and caffeine. We took an ice bath on tape and on video. And then we talked about all of the different peptides you can use, whether you inject them or take them orally. We talked about doing oral oxytocin. We talked about overdosing on yohimbe. We talked about all of the superfoods, all of the herbs like pine pollen. We talked about qualia, modafinil. We talked about Kion coffee and the other Kion products that Ben's company makes. Some really great stuff there. And then also really geeked out on coffee itself, like the best way to make it, brew it, etc., which I thought was really interesting. And then we go through all of the different sleep technologies everything I use to improve and track my sleep in the room. We bust out the Ozone machine. We go up and do the biocharger. We inhale some hydrogen, jump on the rebounder. And at the end, we hop in an ice bath. And so this is going to be a really fun video for you guys to watch. And I'm just going to tell you right now, you're going to be wanting to take notes really bad. And it's going to interrupt the process of you learning from this episode. So I've had my team over at Create Media take meticulous notes. I mean, seriously, these are the most detailed show notes I've ever had. And they break them down and link out with hyperlinks to every single thing that Ben and I talk about in this epic 2-hour video / podcast. So if you want to get these notes, as I'm sure you do, just go to lukestory.com, click on podcast and just look for the Ben Greenfield show. You'll see it there. And all of these notes are going to be there. So that's lukestory.com. If you're already on my email list, just check your email because today, which is Christmas Eve, happy Merry Christmas, you'll have all the links in your email. If you're not on my email list, you kind of missed out and you're going to have to go to my site, but I'd love to invite you to join my email list. Here's what you do. Go to lukestory.com/newsletter. That's lukestory.com/newsletter. Or if you're on a US phone, you can text the word lifestylist to the number 44222. That's lifestylist to the number 44222. And you'll get next week's show notes with Gabby Bernstein. And you'll get every set of show notes following unless you decide to unsubscribe. But who would ever do that? Because my newsletters are awesome. They're just packed with free information. So again, you're going to want to watch this on YouTube. You're going to want to get to the show notes. You're going to go nuts listening to this because of all the links. And it's just, it's an incredible episode. And I'm so happy to drop this at the end of the year. And then our New Year's Eve episode is Gabby Bernstein. And that was also a fantastic conversation about mindset and spirituality. I've also got a solo show dropping this Friday where I talk about treating viruses, finding your tribe, brain mapping, and neuroplasticity. So we've got a lot of action coming at you guys. And more than anything, man, I just want to thank you so much for all of your support this year. If you're a new listener, you're about to hear a pretty insane episode. If you're a longtime listener, I know you're going to enjoy this one. These are the questions I've been getting, is like, what do I do at home? What's my lifestyle like? And Ben is a guy that really understood how to present that in a very educational and entertaining way. The two of us together, I think, created some magic. So Merry Christmas and every other holiday that you might be celebrating this winter. And I'll be back at you on New Year's Eve with yet another episode. So what I want to do, Ben, is show you some of the shit I'm working with here.
Okay.
See if you see that I'm missing anything.
Okay.
And maybe even turn, which is unlikely, which you're about to see. And then I might turn you on to some shit too that you don't know.
Great.
Yet.
Awesome.
Because I imagine like your kitchen is much the same way. I
don't know my way around my kitchen very well. My wife is the queen of the kitchen.
This is my food. 3 packs of beef jerky, some stale almonds, some deuterium depleted water.
That's all your food?
Yeah, I'm not a big food guy. I have a bunch of tuna and salmon and sardines.
Yeah.
And then the rest is really this. I mean, this is it. I mean, I eat, you know what I'm saying? But I just usually...
Well,
cook up some...
How do you get food?
I cook up some fish or some grass-fed beef. And I also order pre-made paleo meals from...
okay. So you're getting your food.
Yeah, they deliver it.
Basically kind of outsourced.
They deliver it and then I just heat it up.
That works.
It's called model meals.
That works for it.
Yeah.
So a bachelor like you.
Yeah. I mean, when I had a girlfriend up until very recently, she would cook and we would pay a little more attention, but it's kind of more utilitarian at this point.
Our house is just all organ meats and sprouts and fresh vegetables and a lot of real food.
Yeah.
But that's because my wife and my kids are absolute foodies and love.
They are.
So there's food everywhere.
Yeah, food's
lots of like ancient grains and rices and legumes and glass mason jars for fermenting.
You eat legumes?
Sprouting. Absolutely.
You tolerate them?
Yeah.
You do?
Absolutely, yeah.
You have to sprout them and shit?
We deactivate everything. We sprout it, we ferment, we soak. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but my own personal diet of late has been more kind of focused on organ meats and wild-caught fish and meat to a certain extent, and then a lot of like underground storage organs like sweet potatoes and yams, some squash, some pumpkin, which is technically not an underground storage organ. But,
so you're eating like a Northern European.
Yeah, it's a very kind of Northern European, a little bit of raw honey, a cup of coffee, a glass of wine, but it's very simple when I'm at home.
Yeah.
And then when I travel, I'll admit, like I'll drop into Erewhon and buy some kind of a
spend $400 for
raw
lunch.
blueberry cheesecake for $40.
Yeah.
Buffalo cauliflower.
I got to stay out of that store, dude.
Yeah. So what are we looking at here?
Okay. I'm going to run you through a couple things. The first thing that I'm really excited about is I just met a guy, and because we're on video, it'll have to remain unnamed, but he makes a microdose psilocybin tincture. He grows them himself, and they're the albino something strain, similar in strength to like a penis envy mushroom.
Yeah. Well, they say the more psilocybin mushroom looks like a penis, the more efficacious it is. I don't know if there's anything to be said to that, but I do know the large amount of the psilocybin and the alkaloids are concentrated in the head. So this is not what it says on it. It's psilocybin.
Well, it has lion's mane, reishi, cordyceps, and niacin in the perfect ratios for true microdosing. So one dropper of this is 1/10 of a gram. So it's 100.
But there's
milligrams.
Also psilocybin in this.
Yeah, it's 100 milligrams of psilocybin.
So it's almost like the Paul Stamets stack.
It's exactly that with some other stuff in there. And
very cool.
And it's absolutely perfectly measured, which is cool because I've always found it difficult. I mean, I'll have mushrooms around and I'm like really paranoid to trip when I don't want to. Mm-hmm. So yeah, homeboy figured it out. This is only like a few days I got this.
That's really cool. Is this like a local LA guy or?
He's a bit of a vagabond, because it's a little bit under.
And is this his company?
Yeah, don't say the name.
I'm not.
I can introduce you to him. And you guys watching, I'm so sorry that I can't introduce you.
I kind of blend up my own mixes at home using like the Four Sigmatic lion's mane, and I've got a guy in Florida who grows some really nice penis envy psilocybin that'll mix with that and use every 3 or 4 days. Right. And often I will use a little bit of niacin with that too, but that's a cool idea. Just kind of a done for you blend.
Yeah, dude.
As psilocybin grows in legality, these kind of things will become increasingly
totally. Common. That's what he's kind of banking on. That's why it's like a little low key right now.
Yeah.
Then he also makes capsules with the same formula that are a little bit stronger. So if you wanted to like feel a little bit of it, but I take one of these and I feel nootropic. If I take 2, I'm nootropic and a little happy, but able to drive and like totally be normal.
It's a great idea. I love
that. It's cool, right?
Yeah.
Then the other thing, I don't know if you've gotten into, this is not the thing that it came in, but is
unlabeled black bottle.
You ever mess with Depronil?
No, I've used it before. It's not something I am a huge fan of just due to the potential for overriding some of the receptors associated with dopamine, particularly.
Right.
It may result in a little bit of dopamine insensitivity, meaning that big picture explanation would be things that would normally be pleasurable for you begin to decrease in their pleasurability just because you get that much. Your dopamine receptors basically multiply. So you need more dopamine to fill those receptors.
Oh, interesting.
The more you use something like Depronil, it is effective, but it's one of those that I don't use simply because I don't want to set myself up for needing more dopamine to get enjoyment out of anything from sex to food to.
So it could make Instagram and pornography ineffective.
Theoretically. Yeah. So looking at the pharmacokinetics of that, I'm not a huge fan of Depronil.
Yeah.
It would also depend a little bit on your genetics as far as dopamine.
Interesting.
Some people are very fast dopamine responders, and kind of like a fast coffee oxidizer could probably handle a little bit more.
I am one of those.
Yeah.
Yeah. The Depronil I do maybe 3 days a week, a really tiny dose, like 2 drops. And
so if you have very robust COMT gene activity, you could probably get away with a little bit more.
I find that it works pretty well, but that's interesting because I'm always nervous about anything that's going to down-regulate you, like taking melatonin all the time or glutathione, things like that your body is supposed to be making, and you're sending a signal to your body like, oh, you guys don't worry about it, I got it.
Yeah.
So yeah. Okay, cool, interesting. The other thing, I know what. The other thing I want to show you. You interviewed Dr. Ted, right?
Achacoso.
Yeah. So have you gotten any of his troches, the Canatine Blue?
Yeah, those are really nice. And I especially like those for a walk in the sunshine because the methylene blue gets activated by the photons of sunlight.
Are you serious?
So the best way to take that, and I actually, those things are a little bit hard to come by right now, but I don't even use them unless I'm in the sun, just because I want the full benefit of using it. The infrared light panels can work all right, but I think some of the visible rays of sunlight and the concentration when you're out in the sun, the heat might have a little bit of an effect too. Right. I have gone on a morning beach walk 3 times since I've been here in LA, and each time I had one of those dissolved in my mouth, and you just feel this nice little uptake of energy. He puts a little microdose of CBD in there, a little bit of nicotine, a little bit of methylene blue. I think there's one other thing in there.
CBD, methylene blue, nicotine, caffeine.
Caffeine.
Yeah, caffeine's the 4th one. Yeah, I freaking love these things, and they're just in the process of scaling. As you said, so they're really scarce. Yeah. They just sent me some, and I'm like, wait, how many? Okay, I have to pace them out over the week when I record podcasts. But for nootropics, dude, these things are one of the most effective I've ever tried.
Yeah, and methylene blue is actually, it's very good for the mitochondria. You, kind of similar to the use of something like a Juve light, excess activation of cytochrome C oxidase in the mitochondria can cause free radical production that can get out of hand, meaning that you wouldn't want to use too much methylene blue. You wouldn't want to stand in front of a Juve panel for more than about 20 minutes. So it's very similar to a lot of these hormetic type of stressors. I rarely will get a nice bath for longer than 10 minutes just because, too much results in excess stress. So,
you know what? When I do over 10 minutes in the ice bath, which mine's usually around between 35 and 40 degrees, 10 minutes is kind of my sweet spot. And now I kind of have just an internal timer. I know when it's 10 minutes. I used to have to set an alarm. But the days where I go 15 or 20 minutes, I actually get really tired. After I warm up super fast. I'll work out a little bit, jump on the trampoline, but the rest of the day I'm kind of like dragging ass.
Have you ever worn a blood glucose monitor?
Not during.
Once you get past about 10 minutes, the hypoglycemia in most people stays with you for about 5 to 6 hours.
What?
Meaning that you can have a blood glucose of 40 to 60. And if you're used to, humming along as most people are at, even people who are low carb, metabolically flexible, they're going to be at 60 to 90 for blood glucose. But if you drop that down to 40, you're going to feel like this kind of cognitive slump. And the best way to know if that is the case, if you don't have a blood glucose monitor, is just like eat a yam or a sweet potato or something like that. And if you feel that surge of energy, it's just because the glycemic drop in response to the cold is that intense.
Trippy, dude.
Yeah, which is great if you're trying to kind of get on the bullet train of metabolic flexibility, but it does kind of suck. Like it can drain your energy, it can take away your focus. So I'm a fan of smaller, more sane bouts of the ice bath.
You just explained why I usually kind of at 10, I'm like, I'm good.
Yeah.
Because I have the tendency, I'm like, well, if 10's good, 20 minutes must be better, but not necessarily.
Yeah. And you could always just get like an AccuCheck blood glucose monitor from Walgreens or CVS if you didn't want to get a prescription for a Dexcom or a Freestyle or something like that.
Interesting about the methylene blue, not wanting to do it too much because I got this powdered extract.
Yeah.
And
important, by the way, for the listeners and the viewers to know that it needs to be pharmaceutical grade methylene blue.
Right. Yeah, because there's like dyes and shit on Amazon. I got this off a reputable site. But what's crazy about it is it's so concentrated. Like a match head of this will turn a huge glass of water dark blue. Like, so it's difficult to dose.
Yeah.
So I basically made myself
your pee green as the yellow interacts with the blue in your pee. And
it's green fucking pee. Crazy. So
so if you have methylene blue and a nice beet goat cheese salad, you can poop red and pee green. As a true biohacker.
All right, next thing that you turned me on to, which I'm really loving, is the Visolutin peptides for your eyes. Yeah. I think I emailed you about something and you were like, try this one.
The data on it's SKQ1, I believe, is the actual molecule. That's the active ingredient in that. And visomycin is something that's been shown to reverse retinal damage in rodent models. And they've done studies in humans and shown improvement in vision, And I think it was a Russian study where they actually got rid of blindness in rodent models. Like they reversed blindness using these visomycin drops. I've never used, my vision is fine, but seeing the data in it, I actually have a whole section on SKQs in my new book. It's pretty compelling if you have eye issues. Like, you do some visomycin and get like the Z Health Vision Gym, which is kind of like a new systematized version of the Bates method of like muscle exercises for your eyes. Cool. Convergence, divergence. You get these little panels like the 3D posters at the mall that you stare at and try to see the image, the Statue of Liberty or what have you. Well, these are similar. It's like home-based eye muscle exercises. And the reason they're not popular is human psychology, right? It's so much easier to just put on a set of glasses or some contacts instead of retraining your eye musculature. But the people who actually do this, probably the most notable guy who has talked about his experience with it pretty comprehensively is Vishen Lakhani of Mind Valley.
Oh, really?
If you look up Vishen and his experience with the BASE method and convergence, divergence exercises for the eyes to retrain the eyes, he got himself off glasses using that method.
Oh, I'm on it because my vision's decent, but it does get a little blurry distance, and I find wearing glasses so annoying. So I pretty much only wear them when I drive at night or going to the movies or something like that. But I'm going to keep on the protocol. Okay, next thing is Oxytocin.
Oh, and by the way, I would say for people who might be listening, because I'm sure some people are very interested in that, I have, again, because I haven't purchased that supplement, the Visolutin. Where did you get that?
Visolutin was kind of hard to find. And I think you told me about some eye drops too.
Yeah, the Visomycin eye drops are the ones I found, but I've never seen this.
And they were both kind of hard to find. And I'll put the links in the show notes because I have them bookmarked.
Oral or topical?
These ones are oral.
Okay.
But then there's the drops that you actually take in your eyes.
And those are the ones that the actual research was done on, were the drops. I'm unfamiliar with the difference between the oral and the drops.
The combination between the two efficacy is helping a lot without even doing any eye exercises.
So cool.
Yeah. So I'm hopeful about being able to get rid of glasses.
I love science.
I do too. Well, that's why I was like, I love going through this stuff with you because you actually remember the data. I read and I'm like, okay, is this legit? I search around for the best source and all that. But then I sort of just get rid of that data once I've determined that it's legitimate and I don't remember.
That's probably good for you because you keep a clear head for other creative ventures.
Right.
Or almost like Sherlock Holmes, right? He forgets facts so he can focus on sleuthing.
I mean, it's really that way because I only, I don't want to use up hard drive space with data that I don't need once I've learned enough to know that I want to try something.
It's reasonable.
But that's where guys like you come in. Next thing is Oxytocin. You ever mess with these?
I have used Oxytocin and do use Oxytocin, particularly for sex, but always a nasal spray. Yeah.
Like these guys?
Yeah. Not that one, but I have a physician compound it with ketamine.
Nice.
Yeah. So but I've never, is this like an Oxytocin troche?
Uh-huh. It is, yeah. I think I might have one actually.
All sorts of new things for people.
Well, in my former
now, are we going? Sure. Are we going to put resources for people like on our respective show notes wherever this stuff appears?
I have links to almost all this stuff, at least the stuff that's legal.
So, for those of you unfamiliar with oxytocin, the hormone that you'd release in response to, well, I suppose I should say a baby would release in response to breastfeeding, unless you're an adult breastfeeder. Or hand-holding, hugging, sex, physical contact, you get this release of oxytocin. It's a feel-good trust hormone. It also has a little bit of an anti-inflammatory effect, particularly in neural tissue. And it makes you feel good. It kind of makes the appetite, or the, not the appetite, but just the mood overall a little bit more agreeable. Enhances touch, which is why it's nice for sex. Not something you'd want to take before like a really hard day of work where you're negotiating. You would want to take it before you go to purchase a car, for example. Where
turn you into a pushover.
You do like it. Yeah, like I'm not joking. Like you actually get more trustworthy. So in about 15 minutes, I'll be highly gullible and just believe and trust in anything that Luke tells me about his supplements here.
That's where we get on the experimental biohacks.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so yeah, the oxytocin, what I find it's useful for is if I have an amygdala, like trauma loop kind of thing happening where I get triggered by something and I'm like, I get super on edge. Like if I'm on the verge of getting super annoyed or angry or like having a more acute situation of anxiety, picture like the IRS knocking on your door or, fight with the girlfriend, something that you're like, ugh, and you kind of, get in that fight or flight. The oxytocin has a way of kind of rounding out sharp emotions. Not that you can bypass them. Obviously, there's something going on. You have to deal with it on a psychological and spiritual level, but it does seem to kind of like relax me a little bit if I'm having a moment where I kind of freak out. Yeah. So
cool.
I'm into it.
There will be no freak out moments.
No. Next one is something that could put someone in a mental institution for their entire life if they drank that. And this is, again, a very specifically measured LSD. I think it's called...
I was going to guess.
I think it's called Pink Cloud or something. Something. Anyway, it's pharmaceutical, super, super pure LSD. And it's in ethanol. And it's measured so that one little drop is 1/20th of a hit of acid.
So about 5 micrograms?
I think it is that, yes.
Yeah.
And as long as you only get the one drop, you're only getting the nootropic effect and no psychoactive effect that's discernible in any way.
Yeah.
Which took me a long time to procure because it's not the type of thing that I would want to get from someone that wasn't reputable and didn't know the chemist that made it and all of that stuff. Obviously, on camera, I can't see where it came from. But
for the longest time, and by the way, LSD is amazing for a day in which you need to solve problems. Right? Analytical and creative thinking merge when you use it. For the longest time, Lysergy, if you happen to have cryptocurrency or Bitcoin, was the best place to buy these lysergamides, like LSD analogs.
You can get LSDP on that site.
You can,
right?
but that site no longer exists.
Are you serious?
So there are other
because of guys
there are other not for human consumption websites where you can purchase these lysergamides. You can also purchase in a very similar fashion to how you can get LSD or variants of it, like PLSD, which works very similarly.
PLSD, that's what Dr. Ted was telling me about.
Yeah, you can also get from a lot of these websites 4-ACO-DMT. And 4-ACO-DMT is extremely similar to psilocybin, but it's standardized dosage. You don't have to mess around, figure out how much is in the stalk, how much is in the head. The reaction to it is almost identical to that of psilocybin. And it's very similar. You can mix it up. You can microdose. You can mix it with lion's mane, et cetera. It works almost exactly the same as psilocybin.
Interesting.
Yeah, and that one also you can buy in powder. You can buy in liquid. And these are usually like chemistry websites that you get this kind of stuff from.
Right.
So proceed with caution with any of this stuff, the same way as you would proceed with caution with stuff you can get off Amazon. I mean, you can get caffeine powder on Amazon and kill yourself. Literally, like the toxicity of caffeine is remarkably low. You take a couple of tablespoons of a caffeine powder, you can just buy bulk and you can die. So,
holy crap.
I mean, anything can be dangerous. So
you just reminded me of something. Let me see if I have this thing in here. I probably hid it from myself so it didn't happen again. But one day I was going to get frisky.
And by the way, as you're digging for that, please note that there is no way in hell that Luke has children. Because if you were in my house, this is exactly about the height of a 10-year-old boy.
Yeah, no, that would be in a safe, right? Yeah. What I was looking for, here it is. God, this evil stuff. Yohimbe HCl. Mm-hmm. One day I was going to get a little frisky and I was like, Yohimbe, like aphrodisiac, enhancer of sex. I didn't realize this was like a pharmaceutical extract of the Yohimbe bark that's super strong, and I kind of eyeballed a dose.
Yeah.
And it's the closest I've ever been to taking myself to the hospital. Mm-hmm. Like my heart was exploding out of my chest. I turned beet red. I was sweating. It was the worst anxiety I've ever had in my life.
I'm sure the sex must have been amazing.
Yeah, totally.
Or non-existent.
Well, that's just from the sex. No, but the only reason I didn't go to the hospital, I was like, what are they going to do? I was like,
Yeah.
And I took a sauna. I took a bunch of charcoal. Like I did everything I could to get it out of me.
The best thing you can do is sweat, consume a binder like charcoal or chlorella, and then just sit it out.
So to your point, all of the stuff that we're talking about, I don't want to be like a promoter of things that are dangerous. These are like just things I've researched, you've researched.
Yeah, these are tools.
You have to be really careful.
God has covered this planet that we live on with all sorts of amazing molecules. It's not to say you take each and every one of them every day. If you were to open, well, not your refrigerator, but my refrigerator, like I said, there's actual sprouts and fish and meat and mayonnaise and mustard. And you don't open my refrigerator and say, holy gosh, Ben, do you eat all this stuff every day? No, if I'm going to have an Italian meal, I'm having the rosemary and the thyme and maybe some lamb meatballs and a little bit of like a millet pasta or a zucchini spiralized pasta or something like that, and some extra virgin olive oil, right? And so everything is used at a certain time in a certain place with wisdom and precise dosages. So I think a lot of people see things like this, a video like this, and want to do it all the things.
Yeah.
And you need to educate yourself and learn over time what works for you, and then use things for specific circumstances. LSD, if you have a very analytical and creative thinking day. Something like psilocybin for maybe a nature hike or a hunt or some plant foraging. Something like the oxytocin for sex, or a sane dose of yohimbe. And so, it's just like cooking, right? You put in a little bit of this, a little bit of that when the time calls for it, but you don't open up the spice cabinet and dump every spice into the pot.
All right. Thank you for that. I always like to give a little disclaimer because I don't want to be responsible for anyone doing crazy shit. All right. So some of the stuff then is
key on lean. That's the best thing you have.
Yeah. Some of the things are just standard, but the key on lean, I really liked the idea of this because at night, I wouldn't say I'm like full ketosis all the time during the day, but I just generally avoid carbs. But at night, I want to have some wild blueberries or, I don't know, some gluten-free crackers or something from time to time. And from what I understand, this stuff helps you kind of get away with carbs. So explain this to me and the people at home.
It just assists with healthy blood sugar management. So, I, as the founder of that company, if you were holding up anything else, I could speak with far more.
I picked the one product where you're like, but it works.
But I have learned from a legal standpoint, I can say that supports healthy blood sugar management.
Oh, right.
The idea being that if you were to eat carbs and you didn't want them to spike your blood glucose, the active ingredients of that, bitter melon extract and rock lotus, can assist with that. And what I like that for also, if you're not going to have it before like an evening carb refeed, like if you're doing a cyclic keto thing and you want to get back into ketosis faster after you've topped off your carbohydrate stores at the end of the day, because you're going to hit the gym the next morning and you want to make sure you can go glycolytic in the gym. You can also use it for something that we were talking about earlier, like the cold. Right? You can actually enhance the drop in blood glucose and the shift of white adipose tissue to brown fat, particularly with the bitter melon extract. So it's a very good supplement for cold thermogenesis as well.
So I can pop these before the ice bath?
I have a lot of people pop 2 of those and then a cup of coffee, because the caffeine from the coffee will enhance the fatty acid utilization before they go do the cold. Typically, for somebody who I'm trying to help lose weight, they'll wake up, they'll do a cup of coffee or any other source of caffeine like green tea, 2 key on lean, 20 to 30 minutes of aerobic fasted cardio, and then finish that with about 2 to 5 minutes of cold. That's a very good strategy for staying lean.
Good, because I want to be more lean. That's good to know.
I was going to say something, but you said it.
Next thing is peptides. So this is my new morning routine right here. Now, I'm out of what I'm normally doing, which I learned about from you, is the BPC 157. And I have some issues with my shoulder and just random spots that hurt. And so at first I was just doing it subcutaneous, just like in my belly fat, just thinking, well, it's just going to go everywhere. Then I started doing them like where I had like tendon inflammation in my elbow. But then I heard that if you do subcutaneous, even at the site of an injury, that your bloodstream just picks it up and it just goes everywhere anywhere. So it doesn't really get in there. But then I started doing it right into the muscle right here that's inflamed or who knows what it is, like right into it, and it's helped a lot. The BPC 157. What do you think about that?
If you speak with a peptides manufacturer, like tailor-made compounding is where I get a lot of my peptides.
Yeah.
Because they use amino acid sequencers that allow them to create a very clean peptide. Right? No amino acid sequences that are not the peptide that it says it has in there.
Mm-hmm.
They will tell you peptides work systemically. You could inject an anti-inflammatory like BPC 157 into adipose tissue, like 2 inches to the left to right of your belly button, and get the effects in your knee or on tennis elbow.
Right.
That being said, if you go to any good like regenerative medicine physician, for example, a good example would be Dr. Matthew Cook in San Jose. He will take like a big long needle, and in the same way that you'd inject like a placental matrix or stem cell or exosomes into a joint, will do that with BPC 157.
Oh, really?
Yeah, at the same time, like he'll do a full-on like systemic IV of things like BPC 157 and then a very similar peptide, TB500 as well.
Oh, yeah.
So I think, based on personal experience and speaking with some of these docs who are kind of on the cutting edge, that as close as you can get it to the site of injury, the better. Although the lion's share of folks you talk to about peptides will say, put it anywhere, it's going to systemically work.
Right. That's kind of the conflicting information I'm getting.
Yeah.
And until I subjectively had the experience of putting it right in the shoulder muscle and having it get better, that's kind of what I thought too.
Yeah, I go for example, I recently had a toe issue. The last Spartan race I did, this toe, it's not that, you can see it's still just a little bit bigger, that left toe. See this kind of bump right here?
Yeah.
So I was literally going, and I did this about 7 times, long insulin syringe right into there, like directly in, and you just kind of, bite your tongue and inject it all in. But I mean, the pain disappeared almost instantly.
Really?
After doing that a few times.
With the BPC
157? Yeah. So I didn't notice anything when doing it systemically, like up in the abs. So I really think there's something to be said for localized peptide delivery.
I'm going to keep doing that. The only thing is I can't figure out how to get it into like a tendon right here. It's so fucking painful, dude. You start to put that needle in and it's like,
you just go to a happy place. It does kind of hurt.
It's gnarly. The other one I've really been digging is the DSIP, deep sleep inducing peptide. Have you tried this one?
I have. Yeah, you take that about an hour before you go to bed, and that one you do inject, systemically.
Yeah,
just because it's going to cross the blood-brain barrier.
Have you noticed your deep sleep scores are higher when you do it?
Yeah, but consider this: it's during REM sleep that your body shifts into a ketotic state, and that's where you increase your metabolic flexibility and your substrate utilization of fats. That's also, and I know you're pretty familiar with deuterium-depleted water.
Yeah.
It's during REM sleep that your body makes its own deuterium-depleted water.
Shit.
So if your only goal is to maximize deep sleep and you're sacrificing REM sleep, then arguably you're limiting some of the substrate utilization and some of the very beneficial deuterium-depleted water your body would normally create. So more deep sleep is good, but maximizing deep sleep at the cost of REM sleep is not necessarily a good thing. So you want to be careful. Like if you take DSIP and your deep sleep goes up to, let's say, 30%, which is not uncommon, but REM sleep drops to like 5%, then you need to be careful.
Oh yeah, that hasn't been happening for me.
Yeah.
I haven't looked at the percentages lately, but I probably average an hour and a half of each. And then maybe sometimes with this peptide, I might get up to 2 hours of deep, but I'm still getting my same hour and a half of REM.
And the other issue with DSIP is the tachyphylactic response to it, meaning the tolerance to it and the need for increasing dosages sets in pretty quickly. So it's something to use sparingly, such as you've gone to a movie, you've had a ton of bright light at night, you get back, take 60 milligrams of melatonin and some DSIP, right? In a situation like that, when you need to just shove yourself.
Or hacking jet lag or something like that.
Yeah, something like that. Exactly.
Yeah. Cool. And then the other one, which PT141.
I'm not familiar with PT141.
PT141 is an aphrodisiac sort of Viagra type peptide. However, I'm single at the moment, so I don't want to wake up with a sore arm, so I'm not taking it. But when I was dating, I tried it a few times, but it works, but it's so hard to time. It's so random. So you think okay, it's 7:00. maybe I'll take it now, and by 9 or 10, we'll probably be going to bed and have a need for it. And nothing, different really happens. I'm out of the ordinary. And then like at 4 a.m, you wake up like a 16-year-old with a pup tent in your bed. And It's like, it's got some value there if you really wanted to do some work, but the timing is so random that I can't figure it out. So hence I kind of left it alone.
I recall now I actually had heard Carl Lenore of Superhuman Radio, who occasionally podcasts about peptides, talk about PT141 and compared it to the old bodybuilding peptide melanotan, which you would inject to induce a tan without the tanning cream or the tanning lotion.
Right.
And the side effect of that is big boners. I used melanotan a few times and had almost like a priapasmic-like reaction, meaning that I got boners during the night that would keep me up because they wouldn't go away for like 5 or 6 hours, and you can't sleep, and your dick hurts when you wake up. So I got pretty disillusioned with that stuff pretty quickly. I actually got a nice tan. I mean, within a week, like I was developing like this nice bronze tan, but not worth it. I mean, even if you are doing it for sexual performance, let's face it, like not many folks are using something like that so they can have 5 to 6 hours of sex every night.
Right.
You talk about deep sleep disruption. That's you're not going to get much sleep. So, I mean, even, I'd rather use just something that very quickly induces a boner, like nitroglycerin creams, very good for that. Like you just smear a little bit on your scrotum and like you're off to the races.
What? Really?
Keep a little bit of that next to your bedside.
Oh,
you need to be careful because that stuff is so efficacious. If you've taken like beetroot extract or anything with sildenafil in it, like Viagra, your blood pressure will drop so low you can pass out. So if you use nitroglycerin cream, just make sure you don't use other vasodilatory substances along with it.
Dude, Brad, I think I'm going to take the audio from this and make it like a bonus to the actual podcast. There's so much.
Honestly, I thought that's what we were doing anyway. So, yeah.
We'll do a real interview because I want to talk about a little more of the non-physical element. But we're almost done here. The rest of it is pretty much, there's a couple things, and the rest of it's just standard superfoods and stuff like that. But there's a couple things I wanted to get your take on. One is pine pollen. Speaking of testosterone and sexual performance, this is Daniel Vitalis' company, Thrival.
Yeah,
I've been on this stuff for years, and there's enough research to indicate that it is going to help your testosterone levels, but subjectively, it's very good for performance.
Yeah, it is. It's the way that trees reproduce. You go and find a pine cone, you get the pollen out, and I mean, you can harvest that stuff yourself if you live in a forested area. Although getting it from through Thrival is probably easier.
Right.
I've used it. I didn't notice enough of an effect to really keep using it. But the data on it's good. I mean, like if you wanted to experiment with it to see how it does for you, probably the first person that made that popular was Tim Ferriss, who said in 4 Hour Body that you should have some pine pollen with a big fatty steak to jack up your hormones before you go out on a date night. And there's a lot of people who anecdotally had a lot of success with pine pollen. I don't use it, but it can work.
Yeah. So, the racetams in the nootropic category. So you can see I have a really large can of paracetam. This shit, the rest of the racetams, I don't really notice anything, but paracetam, which is probably arguably the most mild of them all, a heaping teaspoon or even a tablespoon of this before I have to speak on stage or record a podcast is my verbal acuity and ability to articulate and like word recall is off the charts.
Yeah. And I'll tell you how to put paracetam on steroids and amplify that effect in a very clean manner.
Listening.
Initially, the way to do it was to take some of that stuff from Neurohacker Collective, Qualia Mind, or Qualia Focus, and co-administer that with the paracetam. But now there are 2 peptides that work extremely well with paracetam. One peptide is a topical. You smear it on either side of your neck, like right around the carotid artery. It's called dihexa. And you take that at the same time as paracetam, and then also an intranasal peptide called cerebrolysine. It's also known as C-Max. So you do a couple sprays nasally of the C-Max. You smear some of the dihexa on either side of your neck. You take some paracetam, and you could approximate it to the way that you would feel on like modafinil. With none of so the problem with modafinil is it turns you into a little bit of a robot. Like you get extremely systematic, logical, type A, and it works as advertised. I mean, it will keep you up when you are sleep deprived extremely well. Like you still feel a little bit of sleep drive, but you don't fall asleep. Like it, and so it works very well if I'll occasionally take modafinil if, for example, I'm flying Seattle to Tokyo, getting into Tokyo at 10 p.m., finally getting to my hotel, going to bed at midnight, and I got to be speaking on stage at a conference at 8 a.m. the next day, right? And so I know I'm going to be jet lagged on 3 hours of sleep. That's the time when I'll take modafinil.
Me too.
And even then, I'll take like half a tablet.
Oh yeah, I've never taken more than a half. A quarter to me is like, It's interesting you describe it that way with modafinil, and I agree. It's like it's kind of an emergency, thing that I use if I just don't get any sleep, or especially for traveling. But it's like it's not very good for being around people. Like when I'm on modafinil and I'm on my computer and someone talks to me, I get really irritated. Like I can't have my focus broken. It makes your focus so good that it's hard to kind of. It's not really a flow state. It's like a fucking. I
don't want to be on modafinil around my wife and kids. Right? Like you're a robot.
You're like, stop talking.
I mean, I suppose maybe you could. I've never done this. Maybe you take Oxytocin right at the same time that you take it and kind of take some of that edge off. Who knows? But that piracetam dihexa C-Max combo is amazing.
On it.
Yeah.
I'm doing it. That's my new podcast formula. The very last thing I wanted to get your take on, which I've kind of cycled in and out of, and this brand I just randomly picked up at Erewhon because I was like, I want some of exogenous ketones. What's your current take on the ketones that you can eat?
They're efficacious. I mean, like if you want to shift yourself into, what you could arguably say is an unnaturally high state of ketosis that you would, from an ancestral standpoint, had achieved via fasting and carbohydrate mitigation, but you want to stack extra ketones on top of that for extra fuel for the liver or the diaphragm or the brain or the heart. If you are an athlete and you want rocket fuel, you take a good carbohydrate gel, like glucose and maltodextrin or fructose and maltodextrin. And then you take ketones at the same time, and you can have elevated levels of blood glucose and ketones. So you've got like the best of both worlds floating through your system at the same time. It's useful for that. Ketone esters particularly are very good at modulating the NF-kappa B pathway, which can shut down inflammation, particularly related to something I know you're keen on, jet lag or airline travel.
Oh my God,
so if you take some ketone esters before you fly or after you fly or both, not only is it a great appetite suppressor and a calorie restriction mimetic, but it also shuts down a lot of the inflammation associated with jet lag. So, Dom Agostino has done a ton of research on ketones for neural inflammation, for TBI, for concussion. I've used them when free diving and spearfishing to increase breath hold time, which they work well for.
No kidding.
So again, it's a cool tool in the toolbox. I don't think they taste all that great, but the safety and efficacy profile is pretty good. You would have to take a lot to shift yourself into ketoacidosis. Like you'd have to be, 10, 11 millimolar of ketones. However, if you're taking a regular dosage of it, and you're one of those people who measures ketones with a blood or a breath-based ketone monitor, and normally you're at 1 or 2, or maybe on a good day 3, you take that stuff and you're like instantly at 7 to 8 millimolar. So, I mean, it shifts you into ketosis extremely fast.
I only have one way to test, and it's the little breath acetone. The little.
Is it the keto? KEY?
Yeah.
The keto, the level, all those are approximating blood levels of beta hydroxybutyrate by measuring breath acetone. It's somewhat accurate. It's not as accurate as a blood measurement, but far more convenient. And it works for most people to give you a decent idea.
It's just funny because I test and I'm like, I haven't eaten any carbs in like a day, and I still never get above a 3 though, which is like light ketosis. I'm like, what the hell? And I think that's what prompted me. I was like, I'm going to take some goddamn ketones. What I notice when I take the exogenous ketones is I have an incredible amount of energy. Yeah. It's crazy. And like mental energy too. It's really good for focus and stuff. Yeah. So that's where I'm at with it. Okay. Last thing in the kitchen is I've gone back and forth with a few different coffees. I don't have it in the bag. I have it in here. But then I saw that you were doing coffee and I thought, those are your beans, right?
That smells like Keon.
And so, Keon coffee. And I was like, well, if Ben's doing it, he's going to be doing it right. And then I read kind of the stats on the Keon site, and it's not only tested for mold, but there's like higher antioxidant levels and all this next level shit. So give me like the spiel on why your coffee is awesome, because it's what I'm on now. I have it on my site.
It just cups really good. I mean, we had it cupped by some different professional cuppers, and like it ranks very high for its cupping score, meaning the flavor profile is just really good for espresso, for French press, for regular drip coffee, pour over, whatever. The beans are hand selected for symmetry, so there's not a lot of chipped beans, meaning that the roasting is very even, and that contributes to that flavor profile being so good.
Oh, trippy.
It's all single origin. Only 3% of the coffees in the world are organic, and this is organic. I think the batch right now is Guatemala and Costa Rica for the beans, and then we package it using like a nitrogen flushing type of packaging, so it's extremely fresh. There's always a roast date on it. Don't keep it in your freezer like a lot of people do. Like keep it room temp. As soon as you get the bag, these type of containers you have that where you push down and you get all the air out of it. I like the one Coffee Gator has a good container I use for that. Just sucks all the air out of the coffee. And it's organic, very symmetrical bean. We tested it against 43 other brands of coffee, and it ranked the highest in terms of antioxidants. And I think there was one other coffee that had a slightly higher score on antioxidants. And then the mold and mycotoxin profile is basically non-existent, which for me is the biggest thing. Like I don't want mold or mycotoxins in coffee.
God, yeah.
And so there are a lot of coffee companies that are organic or have high antioxidant or cup really well or have low mold and mycotoxins, or are from farms where it's sustainably sourced and ethically grown. But Keon ticks all of those boxes, which I don't think many other coffees do. So,
I'm stoked. I love it. Last thing on the coffee is, I think I heard you talking about how the oils in the coffee get oxidized if you grind it and let it sit there, so that you always recommend grinding the coffee, which is what I do right before you make it, and doing
grind
a French
it right
press.
before you
so
make
if you're
it.
buying like
Exactly.
bags of coffee that are already ground, those oils are oxidized. Is that true?
Exactly. And I mean, it's you cut open an apple and eat it 5 hours later, it's just not as good. It oxidizes, it's brown, it changes the flavor profile. So you want a fresh grind. Yeah.
Right.
Fresh grind and an appropriate grind, right? Like coarse grind for French press, thinner grind for an espresso. So that's important as well.
Right.
I grew up with a father who was a gourmet coffee roaster and had to learn a lot about the settings on the grind for espresso versus French press. And the water is very important too. Aside from the bean, the type of water that you use is one of the most important things for coffee. And if you use structured water, water that has that extra bit of bonding between the hydrogens and the oxygen and the external vessel within which the water is contained, you get a better flavor profile on the coffee as well. It just travels through the beans a little bit.
You just reminded me of the last thing that I wanted to show you in here. So I use live spring water, which is these guys from Oregon. Comes in glass. Now,
you get this stuff shipped to you from Oregon?
Yeah.
Wow.
I used to go collect it myself, and I still do sometimes. I have a bunch of 5-gallon glass carboys in the garage, and I find springs around Southern California and wherever I am, and go fill up, and then I keep them in the garage covered. But then my friend Makunde started this company, and he delivers it, so it's much easier. So what I'm doing now is I'm on another deuterium depleted water thing. So I'll mix this. This is 65 parts per million. So I'll mix half this and half the spring water. This spring water.
So you're dropping the deuterium content of the spring water.
Yeah. And the spring water is 139, which is really low. Most of your average municipal water is going to be close to ocean water, 150, 155. So this is already low deuterium water in itself, but it's not technically depleted. So I dilute that by about half. And then I put it over here on the vitalizer.
Okay, so you're spiralizing it to structure it.
Yeah.
Oh, then you got an infrared. Might be hard for the camera back here, but you got infrared going.
So this is,
which is great. You could use sunlight too if you needed to.
So that's structuring that water.
Amazing. And this is based off of Gerald Pollack's research at the University of Washington. He's shown that the water structures more efficiently when exposed to infrared light. That's great. That's cool, right? That's a cool system.
Yeah, I'm stoked. I'm stoked. I mean, I just had that panel from Juve, and I have the big one, so I was like, what am I going to do with this? And it just fit right there.
We need to put all this stuff in the show notes for people, for sure.
And then
tell me about this. Yeah, now, you have that's a Somavedic.
Yeah, so this is...
I have one of those in my office, but what are you doing with the water?
Well, the Somavedic also restructures the water. And how is a little hard for me to explain, but I am interviewing the inventor next week. But the Somavedic goes about 100 feet in every direction, and it's made from all of these different crystals and minerals and whatnot.
Yeah.
And so it creates a radiating field. And not all of the units do this, but some of them restructure the water in a way that I can't begin to explain. But I needed it in my house anyway, just to mitigate any EMF. So I thought I might as well keep it where the water is.
I like the Somavedic products. My only complaint about them is the
blue light.
The intense blue light. In looking at the research, the number one place I would put it aside from my office, which is where my Somavedic is right now, would be the bedroom. And instead I have the Blue Shield cube in the bedroom because it's dark and black, and the Somavedic in the office. I would love to do some sleep experiments with the Somavedic, but it's just, I could probably throw a pillowcase over it or something, but they need to get rid of the blue light.
I'm going to tell them that because he was like, I got 3 of them. So I have one in my office next to the Wi-Fi router. Then I have one in my bathroom, which I have a Blue Shield cube in there too. And he's like, which one of these do you like the best? And I'm like, I don't know, because I plugged in all 3 because I'm just hardcore. And I said, I would like whatever one doesn't have blue light, which is why I put it down here in the lowest possible place.
Until I saw yours here, I was unaware that they made one that, yours has blue light at the base. The one I have is just like the entire thingy that's a ton of light.
I think you have to put something over the top of it, which is like, I have the amp coil too, and I love that thing, but the same thing, they installed a blue light in it, so every time you turn on at night, it just...
Same thing with Dr. William Pollack makes a great pulsed electromagnetic sleep mat called the BioBalance that stays on the entire night with settings for alpha wave, gamma wave, theta wave, etc. But the dashboard on it is like the brightest blue light you've ever seen. So if you turn over at night, I just put a book on top of it. Some of these manufacturers in the biohacking industry, I think they'll eventually catch on that you got to pay attention to the actual panels that you use.
Dude, well, what I have to do is I do these True Dark stickers. Like I put them on every little blue light on here. I took the True Dark panel, the blue blocking panel, and wrapped this fluorescent light in it. So
what'd you do here?
I wrapped the True Dark panel around the fluorescent light.
So this is your oven light.
Yeah.
So if you're cooking at night, that's a good idea because I have one of these overheads in the kitchen.
I did the fridge too. Oh. I put the True Dark panels in the fridge over the little blue LEDs.
Oh, such a good idea. I'm going to need to do that.
Yeah.
I'll have to re-listen to this podcast after we record it and remember a few of these things.
The funny thing is about these, and even up here, like that shit shines right in your face when you open the fridge at
absolutely.
night. Because I have all amber incandescent bulbs in the whole house. Yeah. So you get used to that. And then I really notice when I walk by the dishwasher, I'm like, God.
See, I always wear my red light glasses at night. I use those wraparound raw optics.
Yeah.
But I would like to do this because my wife and kids rarely put on their glasses.
Yeah.
They all have glasses, but they just rarely put them on. So I'd like to do this in the kitchen and the refrigerator just to make it easier on them so I don't have to tell them to put on. I don't tell them to put on glasses, but even those friendly nudges. Wear your glasses.
There's a fine line between being like controlling and codependent and just caring about someone and knowing when you know the science on this stuff, it's hard to not like go, oh God,
things. Like, my kids love like the decorations in the room. And so they have Christmas lights everywhere. And I finally replaced all their Christmas lights with incandescent. Right, but sometimes you need to find little fixes like that so they can kind of have their cake and eat it too.
Yeah.
And they don't know the difference between the Christmas lights that are incandescent or the regular ones, but I feel
they're going to have less headaches, less flicker.
Exactly.
So yeah, the True Dark stickers are a game changer.
Yeah.
All right, dude, that's it for the kitchen.
Okay. Yeah, I guess the one thing I should say, because again, we just talked about a shit ton of stuff. And I think sometimes people just like they tune out. So like, I can't do all this shit. These guys are crazy. Find the things that work for you. Like if happiness and simplicity is what you need in your life, then maybe you don't want the LSD and the modafinil and the yohimbe, but you're just going to do one thing. Like you're going to say, okay, I want a little bit more energy during the day. I'm going to try some ketone esters this month and just see how they work. Like you don't have to, drop 2K and buy everything that we were just talking about. And I really want to encourage people that it's okay to not take the all or nothing approach. It's okay to just try a couple of things, see what agrees with you. And what's happened for me is that there are just a few things that I use on a regular basis. Like I take organ meat capsules now on a regular basis because they really agree with me.
Oh, yeah. What do you think of these guys right here? Speaking of that.
Huge fan.
These
ancestral supplements? Yeah. Them, Paleo Valley. Like there's a few good companies now that make organ meats. Like I've been on a kick, especially when I travel, because I feel remarkably healthier when I travel. And granted, it's a lot of pills, but I take adrenal, heart, liver, thyroid, lung, and brain from ancestral supplements. And that's just my mix when I travel. Because when I'm at home, like I said, I've got organ meats in the fridge, typically from U.S. Wellness Meats, like the Braunschweiger and the head cheese. I bow hunt, so I've usually got a little bit of extra organ meat from whatever animal I've hunted. But when I travel, I don't have a little cooler full of liver with me. So I take the organ meats. There are maybe like 7 other supplements I use on a regular basis: fish oil, creatine, a couple of those nootropics we talked about, some peptides, and then everything else is just kind of occasionally when the time arises. Like I talked about LSD, for example, on a very creative and analytical thinking day where maybe I'm, meeting with my team at Keon for the day and we're coming up with all our new ideas for supplements or, what we want to do that quarter. That's a day where I want to be creative and analytical. So that'd be like a microdose of LSD type of day. But ultimately, the takeaway message I would say that's important for folks is just start small, pick a few things in each category like sleep or brain or recovery. Have a couple of things that you can utilize via better living through science for those particular pain points. And then understand that you have a lot of time to kind of cycle through and try some other things, but don't get everything at once because then you're just going to have this dizzying array of stuff that stresses you out and doesn't help you.
I 100% agree. And if I could give my one recommendation, well, 2 actually. The number 1 thing would be get really good, clean water, because that's basically what you're made of, and focus on anything that helps you sleep, like sleep and really great, hopefully, spring water.
Yeah.
That's the start. If you could take all this shit away, that's all I would keep, would be like really good water and whatever optimizes my sleep.
Yeah. The only other thing I'd throw in there would be, well, they help with sleep as well, but I would just say really good light and then unearthing or practice.
Yeah. I forgot one thing, dude.
Of course you did.
Kratom.
Yeah.
Another controversial one.
Yeah.
Myself having a history with drug abuse, which thankfully I've been rescued from for many, many years, I'm very careful.
I think there's some people who would look at your supplements cabinet and say you still abuse it.
Yeah, I think so too. But, with things like microdosing, psychedelics, it's a slippery slope for most of us. And that's another caveat I would give to anyone that's had a history with that. I feel firmly grounded in the idea that I'm not going to run around and drink alcohol and do cocaine and all the shit that I used to do. But kratom is something I heard about a while ago. And because it's kind of a natural opiate, I was really afraid to try it. But then I have persistent pain and I don't want to take painkillers. So I started experimenting with it. And I have not had any problems at all feeling addicted to it. I don't crave it. I don't miss it. I don't think about it when I don't have it. All of the hallmarks for me that show me that I'm addicted to something are completely absent.
Yeah.
Take it or leave it. And I know kind of my dose where I can take it and maybe relax if I want to chill at one point at night, if it's been a long day or traveling, or if I do have some gnarly back pain or an injury, it really helps with that. But I have accidentally, like my former girlfriend one night made me some, and I don't know, she was more tolerant, and I got really nauseous, and I just had to lay down for like 3 hours. It was like a really horrible
you kind of wobbly.
Yeah, just like the worst part of an opiate experience with no euphoria, just super,
because it does work
sick
on those opioid receptors.
Yeah, so you have to be really careful. But the other thing that I found that my stomach tolerates a lot more is the kratom extract, which is like a 50x boil down, essentially, of the leaf.
And where do you get that?
I'll put the link in the show notes and I'll share it with you.
Cool.
But I think it might be the place where I get my nootropics, like paracetam and stuff. You know, those sites get shut down all the time, so I can never remember the name because they always change. Yeah. But this like crystalline extract, I mean, 1/4 gram or 1/2 gram kills pain like you just took 8 ibuprofen.
Yeah.
And you can take it to the point where you don't feel high, but it does kill pain and also relax you. I think the difference between the extract and the raw powder is you have to take such a minute amount of the extract that it doesn't mess with your stomach or digestion at all. And it's a little more of a head high versus like a lethargic body high.
Yeah.
That's been my experience. But it's also something I think people should be really careful with.
Yeah, it's got a little bit of a liver toxicity profile too, so you need to be a little bit careful if you have elevated liver enzymes, the same as you would want to be with kava, for example, is very similar as far as the alkaloid profile. I have used kratom. I got into it for a while after I did a podcast with Chris Bell, who's the guy who kind of made the awareness of kratom pretty mainstream.
Oh, the Leaf of Faith documentary.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's a very, very wonderful alternative to opioids, safer, less addictive. Certain strains, kind of like marijuana, can be uppers or downers, so there are certain strains you can take for sleep. I believe it's, I forget it now, if it's the red or the green that you would take for sleep. And then the other one's more energizing. But the only kratom I use now, occasionally, is because of the combination of the uplifting and the pain-killing effect. Pre-workout, for like a hard workout where I know I actually need to go to the pain cave, I have used the one that Chris Bell makes called Mind Bullet. They market it as a nootropic, and the dosage is 2. Before like a pretty hefty workout, I'll take 4 of those, and it seems to work pretty well.
Oh, damn. I didn't know he got into the business.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, it's a cool guy. I listened to that episode you did, actually. Mind Bullet. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's one thing I wanted to cover, and definitely one, like, beware, because a good friend of mine who I told about, I was like, and he's a former addict. I was like, not even an opiate addict, but just former other stuff addict. And I was like, be careful, dude. There's a potential for addiction. He's like, no, I'll be careful. Sure enough, he starts using it too many days a week and then runs out or decides to stop, and had 3 days of like somewhat mild opiate withdrawal symptoms, which would be restless legs, can't sleep, feeling kind of antsy and sweaty. I know that feeling. I experienced that in my former life. So I'm like, wow, if it could happen to him, it could happen to anyone. So that was a good warning for me to really be careful and not overdo it with frequency. But
same could be said for the Starbucks quad latte. That you stop that for a few days, you feel pretty shitty too.
Right. But like all plant medicines, it's about intention, having a little discernment and some self-awareness and self-discipline so that you don't go off the deep end. Like you said, if you look at my supplement cabinet, you're like, wow, you're addicted. And I would say psychologically, definitely so. I'm always kind of taking things from the outside to change the inside. And that's just something that I'm aware of myself, but it's also something I find really fun. And it's like my hobby to play with the human body. Could I leave all this shit and still be happy and have a great life? Yeah, but it's like, why not? It's fun and interesting to do it.
I do dig stuff like this where you're digging into, like, it's pretty rare that, well, I won't lie because it's expensive for me to do this, but I'll go to one of my clients' homes, literally just like fly to their city, go to their home, and just do a walk through everything, like the EMF, the refrigerator, the supplements cabinet, etc. And it's fun to geek out on this kind of stuff and just go into somebody's domain and just like fix shit or advise them on stuff or, this is really good, but here's a better alternative. So I think that, maybe for some people watching, cool business idea for you. If you really dig this stuff and you're certified and you love to study it, I think we need more people who are just well-versed who can do isn't there a TV show where people go into people's homes and redesign the homes? Isn't that like
Yeah. It's like a home makeover.
Yeah, like a home makeover, except it's like a health makeover, right? You go to people's homes. So there's a business idea for some young, energetic person who's keen on this stuff. Just like start a business, go to people's homes, help them out with this kind of stuff.
It's funny that you mentioned that, because when I first started the podcast, that was my original business model. I even made a name for it, the Bio Coach.
Yeah.
And my first client was Neil Strauss, who's a mutual friend. Not client, I did it for free, but I was like, I want to see how this works. So I went to his house, and his was really fun because he had like all canola oil, MSG, like all the really, really gnarly stuff. And I walked out of there with 2 of those big Target bins to just throw in the dumpster. I mean, he was literally eating poison.
Yeah.
But he had just had his kid.
I've stayed at his house before. I think I stayed there when, right after, maybe I shouldn't say names, a professional snowboarder had just left and the fridge was full of Mountain Dew, right? So, So sometimes you find shocking things in people's kitchens and homes, but in their defense, I think a lot of people just don't know, or they have the supplements dialed in but don't know about the light, or they've got the light dialed in but don't know about the EMF. So I think there's a growing need for kind of like a service where you can go to people's homes and help them out with this kind of stuff.
Right. So get to it, people. All right, we're officially done with the kitchen.
Cool.
Let's move on. We'll be right back at you after this brief but important announcement. People often ask me about my morning routine because, as you may have guessed, it's quite extensive when it comes to priming myself, getting prepped for the day. There's a lot of different practices that I stack within the first hour or 2 after waking up. And one of them that is very consistent is red light therapy. The natural red light from a Juve unit supercharges your mitochondria in your cells so your body can make more energy. This has all sorts of health benefits, and they're all backed up by thousands of peer-reviewed clinical studies. One of the main things I like it for is that it increases testosterone, and that's been one of the biggest wins for me. I have higher T levels now than I did in my early 40s, which is super cool because having great hormones is a key to longevity. Some of the other core benefits are reducing inflammation and skin health. Yep, that's true. Red light therapy actually helps your skin look smoother and fresher. And as we begin to age, of course, you know that your skin quality tends to decline. So Juve is the #1 red light therapy brand for a reason. Their devices are sleek, super cool looking. They're very powerful. They're FDA cleared. And they come in a bunch of different sizes. So you can set them up just about anywhere in order to fit the space that you have and, of course, the budget that you have. It's the single easiest health intervention I do because you essentially just stand in front of it. And newer research is also showing that red light therapy is great for improving women's hormone health, like thyroid production. So it's not just for the dudes and the testosterone, it benefits everyone. So if you want to check it out, which I highly encourage you to do, go to juve.com/Luke. That's JOOVV.com/Luke. Once you get there, you're going to get a special bonus from the team. And of course, there is so much information there to study and learn more about this scientifically validated therapy. That's juve.com/Luke. And now back to the interview. Here we are in the bedroom zone, and we're going to talk about a couple of the sleep optimization techniques and various things going on up here. So the first thing is my most recent acquisition and practice, which is the Ozone generator.
Oh, yeah.
And I can't name the brand because I got it from a private manufacturer who wants to remain unnamed, but there are legitimate places you can get them. My thought here was I suspect that I have some systemic fungal infections, as most people do. At various times, I've had fungus on my feet, which is an indication that there's probably something inside. So I started doing the rectal what's it called? Insufflation of the old, which I'm not going to demonstrate on camera. But then there's also, that's why you have this stuff. But then there's also something really interesting that I've been doing as well, which is ozone to the brain via the ears.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. And then there's another one, ozone bagging for limbs. And so to work on the foot fungus, This goes your foot or arm or anything. This is for when people have like diabetic ulcers and crazy shit like that. But I'm like, have some pesky like foot fungus.
Also works if you forgot to wear your sandals in the locker room.
Yeah, exactly. Foot goes in there and you run like a low pressure ozone on your feet.
Yeah.
But this one is really cool because it's an airtight seal and you put it on like 0.5 liter of pressure and then you start to feel it going inside your skull. Mm-hmm. And the idea there is getting rid of any systemic fungal infections that could have made it up into your head.
Yeah.
And one thing you can also do with this, and again, this is not sanctioned by any medical establishment. This is my own thing, so don't try this at home, kids. The other thing is sometimes I get sinus infections, less so now that I'm living clean. So what I'll do with that is I'll take a huge breath in, like, and then hang upside down and run the ozone pressure all through the sinuses.
It should be fantastic too if you have biofilm, or mycotoxin-related illness in your sinus passages.
And then you just got to make sure that you like,
and so this unit that you have, it came with all these connections.
Yeah,
for that.
Yeah,
that's interesting. I mean, I've used rectal insufflation before, and rectal or vaginal insufflation can be very effective for fungal issues and fungal overgrowth, but hadn't seen the earpiece before or the ability to do it. I mean, I've seen the nebulizers where you can nebulize it, but that is a cool setup.
Yeah, it's cool too because when you do it in the head, it goes through all of your sinuses and everything too. So if you have any kind of weird like lymph shit, like basically anything from chest up gets affected when you do it.
Yeah,
through the head.
The concentration, a lot of people have, or not a lot of people, but it's easier to use like an ozone water generator where you're just drinking the ozonated water,
right?
But you're getting nowhere near the effect of the singlets that would damage the fungi that you'd be getting from something like this.
Yeah,
that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I've been working on the Frank Schallenberger book, The Ozone Miracle. It's covering up the logo on this right now.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay, but. The interesting thing with this book is he talks about all the different protocols and the concentrations of gamma that you want for the different things. Mine's just set on high for everything, which is probably not the smartest way to do it. So I'm researching right now to get more accurate dosing so that I actually know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Which I normally wouldn't wing something like this, but ozone is relatively safe anyway. So as long as you don't breathe it in your lungs.
Right,
that's the
exactly. Exactly. Wow, very cool. The Ozone Miracle by Frank Schallenberger.
Yeah, he's kind of the guy. He's, as far as I can tell, one of the foremost experts. I'm working on getting him on the show and covering ozone because it's weirdly something I haven't covered, but it's useful for so many different things.
Yeah.
And then there's a whole other mitochondrial oxygen issue that it's really good for too.
Yeah, and if you need to, so if you had a machine like this or access to a machine like this, you can hit neural tissue, you can hit the sinus passages, you can do the rectum, you can do the vagina, but the blood is difficult to get.
Right.
And so that's where that cool procedure that a lot of docs are increasingly using now called ozone dialysis.
Yeah. Is that the 10-pass IV? Yeah, I did a few rounds of that.
You can do 10-pass ozone, but then ozone dialysis is a little bit different where it's literally like passing the blood through a dialysis machine and ozonating it simultaneously.
Oh, really?
The 10-pass ozone, it's being ozonated, but not filtered. And Dr. Matt Cook, I interviewed him. He's got the clinic up in San Jose, and he does that ozone dialysis. Phil Leno, I just found him in Spokane, Washington, and he's doing it too now.
So really? In your hometown?
I'm going to go in for a few days of it with Phil.
Cool.
Probably this winter and see what kind of sludge I can clear out from the bloodstream.
The Cook guy is the peptide guy too in San Jose.
Yeah, he's amazing.
Cool.
In fact, I'm having dinner with him tonight.
Oh, cool.
We're recording a country music album tomorrow morning.
Are you really?
In LA, yeah. So
dope.
For dinner. We both love country music. He blasted all over his office, so we decided
that's cool.
He has a patient. He's like a music guy and has a studio, so we're gonna go.
Sweet.
Make some music. Yeah.
All right. The other thing, which is part of the ozone setup, is the air purifier. So I have this Austin Air HealthMate, which is just a HEPA, and I keep it over near the ozone so that
the air filter.
Yeah, so that I'm just blowing fresh air basically to blow away the ozone that I might be breathing in.
Yeah, that's smart.
But I've not really. I wanted to get a molecule. I've seen some different air purifiers out. I've had the Austin Air things. I've had these for 20 years.
Yeah.
But now you have like more advanced air filtration. So what are you working with at home right now?
I have in my home, because I built it, all the venting has its own HEPA filtration system built in called Aller Air. And that uses UV light and HEPA. And then I've got a couple of those standalone molecules. And the molecule filter, for those of you who don't know about it, spelled with a K, it is not a HEPA filter. They use a microfiltration process that filters out, things that are like 1,000 times smaller than what a HEPA is going to catch. So that's like the creme de la creme. Those are about, I think, $700 to $800 for a single standalone unit. But it'll cover a room like 400 to 600 square feet.
I think that's why I haven't gotten a molecule yet. I link them on my site just because I researched it enough to think they're probably the best. But then I go to order one, I'm like, $800, really?
As with many of these things, like we were talking about downstairs in the kitchen, where you've got blue light producing devices, the molecule does have Wi-Fi, but it's disableable. You can go into the settings and disable it. So just make sure, if you get a molecule, you can go into the settings and make sure you turn off the Bluetooth and the Wi-Fi, especially if you have that in your bedroom, for example.
Smart. That's the thing. When I moved in here, I installed all these Sonos everywhere. And then when I had Brian Hoyer over and doing a screening, every Sonos speaker is basically like a Wi-Fi router in your house. Yeah. It's a freaking disaster.
Yeah, we hardwired our music system with Cat 6 shielded Ethernet cable in the walls. And again, I realize a lot of people can't do that because we built, so we were able to do it from the get-go. Do you have a kill switch or like an EMF, something?
Yeah, EMF kill switch I have downstairs, and it's going to be installed momentarily. What I do in here at night is there's a breaker box in the laundry room, and I just kill all the power in here at night. Yeah, which is amazing.
EMF kill switch is hooked up to the main breaker for the house, and you can just flip that, or can you control it remotely, like if you're laying in bed? And
it has a remote, and you can choose which breakers you want to turn on and off. Yeah, so that's going to be the game changer. When I rent this place. When I buy, I'm going to do like you and just make a compound and do it right. Yeah. But I don't want to spend the money on a place I'm renting. Right. It's like, it'd be nice for the next renters, but I'm not trying to put money into their real estate holdings.
Yeah.
All right, next thing is spinal decompression. You ever use one of these?
Show me.
Okay, so this is... They usually have these at a chiropractic office. Yeah.
Just do that one more time. It's just this.
Oh, this thing's hitting it? I can take it off.
Okay, can you just, just do what you're
saying. Give me a go when you're ready. Yep. Okay, so the next thing is spinal decompression. And this is something that used to be only available at chiropractic offices. And Glenn from Pristine Hydro down in Laguna Beach, a great filtration system, which I'm about to install in my kitchen.
Wait, water filtration?
Yeah. I mean, I drink the spring water, but I don't always want to use that for cooking and coffee and plants.
So Pristine Hydro is like a central filter, like an under the sink type of thing?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And they put mag bicarb in the water, they vortex the water. Right. They do the whole thing. It's pretty
very cool.
Yeah. They're as far as filtration, they're one of the best. I know you're pretty hip to the filtration stuff too, and your dad makes something really great also.
Yeah.
There are definitely...
The Hydro Energizer is the one he makes.
Cool. Yeah, I've actually looked into it. So this guy, what's this thing called? It has a real name, which I forget. It's called...
The Home Track. The Saunders Lumbar
Saunders Lumbar Home Track.
Deluxe.
Yeah. So the way this works, it comes with the hand pump, but Glenn taught me how to hack it. So you can use an air pump, which makes it super fast.
Yeah. So for people listening, it's like this platform that you're laying down on with a pump attached to it.
And what's going to happen is sort of like a medieval stretching your spine. So these straps go around your hips.
Gotcha, yeah.
These straps go around your ribs. And it pulls your lumbar spine apart and decompresses it.
Yes, this is like, okay, so
and it feels
I have this thing called Dr. Hose decompression belt. You could like wear it on airplanes and stuff. It comes with a little handheld pump. You put the belt around your waist and you pump it up, and it decompresses the spine while you're sitting on the airplane.
Really?
Yeah. This looks like kind of an upgraded version of something like that.
You want to try it?
Yeah.
All right, lay down right here.
Which way does my head face?
Head's up here.
Okay.
And then lay so your midsection is right in the slit there. So meaning like the space between your hip and your rib is right where this crack is.
Okay.
Yeah. Turn it the other way. Sure. Sit up for 1 sec.
Okay.
Let me flip it like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Cool.
Okay. So this is catching your hips. You have a substantially smaller waist than I do.
Yeah,
it works out more.
That's genetics.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I've just like all the boys in the Greenfield family have these like Victorian corset like waists.
That's funny.
And big shoulders. So we fit into the what do they call the Adonis ratio? Quite well. But not as well as I'm going to after this.
Yeah,
Wow.
this thing feels so good, dude.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And if you go to a chiropractor and they put you on one of these, they're going to charge you like $150.
Wow.
You can buy this whole thing on eBay for like $200.
Oh, I would have expected it to cost more than that. But I would
It's like
imagine
$200 for the
probably
table.
rig you have set up next to this Husky, is this just an air decompressor?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You get the little Husky
That's a little extra.
air decompressor off Amazon, maybe $50.
And this is normally, this right here would be where you'd have a hand pump, but instead you have it attached to
But
this.
Pristine Hydro sell this little adapter. That's the hard thing to find. Without that, this won't work.
Perfect.
Get out of your cooks. And then this is your pressure gauge.
Okay.
It's got 3 settings: release, pump, and hold. So you put it on pump when you turn this baby on, and you're going to feel it stretch you out.
Okay.
Then you put it to hold, and you can see the pressure. I usually go to about between 100 and 160.
Okay. Go ahead and just put me on crush.
And you hold it for like a minute.
Okay.
All right, you ready?
All right. I'm ready for my spinal decompression here. I did 10 sets of 10 hex bar deadlifts this morning. So this is probably perfect for
Dude,
post deadlifting.
your workouts are nuts, bro.
With so each one, sometimes I'll just do simple workouts, but they're still hard. So it was 2 minutes on Jacob's ladder, and then set of 10 hex bars, and back to Jacob's ladder to hex bars. It was back and forth.
Oh my
For 10
God.
rounds. Try out that workout if you'd like. Jacob's ladder to hex bar deadlifts. This feels great.
Doesn't that feel good?
Yeah, it's just literally decompressing all the vertebra. Like I can feel like I'm just completely stretched out right now.
Well, it's interesting. You'll feel the vertebrae spread out, and then it'll move your body.
Yeah.
You can actually feel more separation between your hips and your ribs.
I have to say, actually, for people who would want a portable solution, because like I mentioned, I have that Dr. Hose decompression belt.
Yeah.
It actually feels kind of similar to what I get from that.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I'd like to wear that when I'm at my desk.
Right. It's so useful if you're just like, on the go, you want to decompress your spine while you're driving or on an airplane or at your desk.
Right.
You just don't want to have a big meal before, of course, because it literally just like compresses all your organs as well. So,
all right, we're going to release you now.
Okay.
That's probably been about a minute.
Release the hounds.
Yeah, and then it just slowly starts letting you out.
So you get the unit off of like eBay, and then you contact these folks who you talked about.
At Pristine Hydro, on their site under accessories or something, they have this little adapter that enables you to connect the pump to the tube that goes into the lumbar machine. Otherwise, you have to use
with disc compression and
otherwise you have to
low back
you have to
issues.
plug yourself in and lay there and go
And then pump.
yeah, which takes forever. It's a pain in the ass.
Yeah.
So yeah, props to Glenn over at Pristine Hydro because he's the one that hacked the system to use it with this pump.
I dig it.
It's cool, right?
Cool. I'm 2 inches taller.
You probably are, dude.
Amazing.
And that's it.
Very cool.
Yeah, I'm glad I remembered to show you that. I wanted to get your take on it. And now I know about a portable one too.
Yeah, I dig it.
All right, then the other thing is the biomat.
Mm-hmm.
Are you fan of these?
My kids have a Biomat Mini, and I take a nap quite regularly on the Biomat Pro.
Oh, cool.
The way that I do it is I lay it out on the bed. And the Biomat, you guys, it's embedded. It looks like this. It's embedded with these amethyst and tourmaline crystals. So you get negative ions, very similar to what you get if you were earthing or grounding, but they're very concentrated from these crystals. And then it heats via infrared. And so it kind of operates on the principle of hyperthermia, which is why in Korea, where it's manufactured, they actually recommend it for cancer patients because hyperthermia can be cytotoxic to cancer cells. What I do is I lay it out on the bed. And in the winter up in Washington, it's really nice because it's like a warm teddy bear.
Yeah.
I don't sleep on it because it's too hard. Those crystals are just like super hard. But you lay it on your back, and then I have a set of these Normatec compression boots. Right, it's graded compression that kind of milks the lactic acid and metabolic products out of your legs and up towards the heart. So you put on these boots, and then you lay on the biomat like this. And then the final component, and again, I realize there's the people snickering about the biohackers with all their crazy stuff, but this is better living through science. It's amazing. I use the New Calm, right? So I do New Calm, boots, biomat, and this is at 2 p.m. when I just need to check out after a long morning of work. And I'll just do the 20-minute power nap function on the New Calm and lay there on the biomat with the boots on and just go to a happy place. And you wake up and your legs are light as a feather, your body's all warm from the biomat. So
that's a good combo.
A good way to go.
Yeah, we're going to cover the New Calm in a moment.
Yeah, you can also, by the way, if you don't have much space and you own a biomat and you want to turn your biomat into a sauna, you get the biomat, you turn it all the way up, and then you wrap it in those Mylar blankets, those insulated blankets.
Right.
Get super hot, and you can get a sweat on, and it's almost like one of those done for you, like infrared sauna blankets, like the company Higher Dose makes.
Yeah, I have one of those.
This is like that, but you turn your biomat into a sauna with the Mylar blankets.
Oh, that's cool. That's a great idea.
Yeah.
Other thing that I know you're a fan of is the V-Light intranasal LED thing. Are you still using these?
I use the V-Light. It just operates on that same principle as like the Juve light panels you guys saw in Luke's kitchen to activate the cytochrome C oxidase in the mitochondria. So pairs very well with the methylene blue because of that. Again, the same reason that methylene blue would pair well with sunlight. But this V-Light does it for neural tissue. And they've used this in people with Alzheimer's and dementia. It's great for increasing cognition, focus. There's 2 different models, one for alpha brainwave production and one for gamma brainwave production. And what I have is the one that comes with like a headset.
Yeah,
you put on the headset, and then the nasal probe goes into your nose. And so you get the headset just blasting your neural tissue with this light and this wave function. And then the nasal probe does the same thing through your nose. And very similar to like the Juve panel, for example, you don't want to use it too frequently. So in the case of the V-Light, the recommendation is about every 48 hours or so. Like that would be the minimum amount of time spent between treatments. But again, for something that makes your head feel clear as a bell, something that pairs well with nootropics, like a methylene blue, for example, it's a cool device.
So this one here is the 810 infrared, which is the invisible spectrum. The one I used to have, I forget the number, but it lit up your whole nose like bright, bright red.
Yeah. So it's probably a lower wavelength, more visible wavelength.
Right.
700.
What I use this thing for, weirdly enough, is every couple nights I'll put it in my nose when I fall asleep, and I get better sleep scores when I have it. It's really, really trippy.
That's cool. I've never thought of using it for that.
Yeah,
but the cool thing about the one that comes with the headset is you can just use the nasal part if you wanted to.
Right.
So you don't have to sleep with like a light helmet on your head.
Yeah.
I'll have to try that though. That's a cool idea.
It is, because it's like, I mean, I wake up kind of like, what's this thing? And I shove it to the side, but I don't know. I fall asleep quickly and I get good sleep scores on the Aura. The next one's the Power Medic laser, which is the cold laser. And this thing has been incredible for tennis elbow, tendonitis, injuries, and also for cuts, burns, bug bites, stuff like that. You ever mess with lasers?
It's just low-level laser therapy?
It's 1,500 milliwatts.
Yeah.
This one's 808 nanometers.
Yeah. I don't own a unit. I've been treated with a unit before.
You have,
and they can work pretty well. Yeah. Yeah, like a practitioner with a cold laser setup.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, this particular set comes with this one and then one that's got just one diode.
And who makes this one again?
They're called Power Medic lasers.
Huh.
Yeah, I met the guy at the Bulletproof Conference a couple years ago, Arnie, and interviewed him. Brilliant guy from not the Netherlands, not Belgium, Norway, somewhere over there. Maybe it was Norway.
Mm-hmm.
Brilliant guy, really cool guy. And he invented something called the Giga Laser, which this has 3 diodes. He made this huge thing that's like maybe 2 feet by 3 feet with, I don't know, a couple hundred diodes. And he did a study where he treated infertile women with this laser diode machine over their bellies. And I think he did like 300 women that were infertile and had tried all other means, ended up getting like 250 of them pregnant.
Whoa.
It's like, I forget the numbers, but it was an insane...
He didn't get them pregnant, but...
Yeah, he was very active, very virile man.
Great job.
But yeah, his thing, it treats infertility. It's fucking crazy. Yeah, that's the Giga Laser. They're like, I think 50 grand. You have to go to a practitioner. But for any women listening, they're having problems with fertility, look up the... Power Medic lasers, Giga Laser. There's only a couple in the United States. You just screwed
world population overgrowth with that.
Yeah, I know. Dude. Sorry, globalist, eugenicists.
Yeah.
I just blew your whole plan. But yeah, the lasers I love. One thing I did that was interesting with it is when I adopted this dog, Cookie, she had just had her spade surgery. And so she had a big gash and stitches on her belly, which had been shaved. And I treated her every day with their other laser that's just one diode. It's a little less powerful. And I sealed that cut up in like 3 or 4 days.
Wow.
Yeah, which would have been there for a long time. She doesn't even have a scar.
Amazing.
Yeah, it's cool. So that's a good one too.
Yeah, and the Juve panels can work a little bit like that for collagen and elastin and skin issues and scars. But that concentrated amount directly against the skin is pretty efficacious.
Right.
The Juve Go, I noticed you have the Juve Go over there. You can kind of sort of use that for a similar effect. Probably not as concentrated.
You know what I did with this one? On a recent trip to London, I got this thing called a Verilux, which is a seasonal affective disorder light. It's in the kitchen. Yeah. I forgot to show you. But anyway, it's a bright, full spectrum, like mimicking sunlight. And so I used that with the Juve Go, this little mini guy. And each morning, because I couldn't get any sun, I was in the UK and I'd wake up super early, I would mimic the sunrise and just go sit in front of the blue, full spectrum daylight and this light in the morning to get myself in a new time zone. And it worked like a charm.
Yeah.
Dude, it's crazy. I had no jet lag.
Yeah.
Within 2 days, I was totally acclimated.
The only thing to bear in mind, and I don't know much about the Verilux, but increasingly studies are showing that irreversible retinal damage.
Shit.
I guess you don't have to worry about it since you have that visomite and stuff, but the irreversible retinal damage from concentrated blue light. And so a lot of the better companies are using like a bluish green spectrum, which actually knocks off some of that blue light damage. The glasses that I use called the retimers are based on that. I don't know what the Verilux uses, but some of those just like blue light boxes that you get off Amazon,
right?
You need to be careful. You can expose your body to them, but you don't want to stare directly into them. You want to limit eye exposure. And the cool thing is you've got photoreceptors on your skin, and so you'll still respond from a jet lag standpoint if you're not staring directly into it.
I think those ones you're talking about, the seasonal affective disorder ones, are a little bit, some of them are lower grade. The Verilux is full spectrum and it does have some of the green and maybe even a little yellow in there. Yeah, there's a couple different settings, but when you're on the super blue one versus the one that's more full spectrum that has the kind of the rainbow. But I didn't know that was why. I was like, blue light, sun, great.
Yeah.
Good to know.
Yet another reason to be careful with your backlit LED monitors.
Dude, right?
Yeah.
All right, next thing is, which I'm going to assume that you use, which is this is the Uller by the people that make chili technology.
Yeah.
You using these guys?
I do. I use that nightly. I've got it set on the boost function for 55 degrees. It is, it's a must for me for sleep when I'm at home. My sleep scores are always in the 90s when I'm at home because I have all this stuff at home.
Yeah.
When I travel, despite all the travel hacks that I bring with me, I'm usually 70s to 80s sleep score. when I travel, like measured by the Oura Ring. At home, though, I've got the blackout curtains, I've got the Euler, I've got the the EMF blocking kill switch, and I mean, you know how do you use the Oura Ring at all?
Yeah, every night.
It gives you like a crown if you get a good sleep score above 90. I get a crown every night at home.
Yeah,
and it's because of a lot of stuff like this. And that chili, or that they used to call it the chili pad, the Euler, is a game changer. And the cool thing is, if you have one of those PEMF devices, like those mats that will just stay on the whole night, like that BioBalance mat that Dr. Pollack makes, it can actually concentrate the water in the Euler, can concentrate the frequency when you're on that mat. So the play is that you put the mat under your sheets, and then you put the Euler on top of the mat, and then your top sheet or your sleeping sheet goes over that. And so basically you're getting PEMF and water and cooling the whole night.
Oh, that's nuts, dude.
Yeah.
I tell you, since I got the chili pad, it's been a few years. I think when they first came out, I got it. They had a few bumps in the design, like a couple times. I had problems with the first prototype kind of that they had, but then the Euler is flawless. But dude, I'm so addicted to this thing. It's actually really hard to travel without it. I have to crank the AC on like the lowest setting in any hotel to even compete with this.
I mean, so I'm staying at a guy's house down in Venice Beach, and he doesn't have AC. I open the windows at night, but I take a 2-minute cold shower before I go to bed.
Right.
And some people are like, oh, I was going to wake you up. You get a brief kind of like mammalian dive reflex, sympathetic response. You're mildly awake for like 5 or 10 minutes after you do it. But like for me, I have to take a cold shower before I go to bed if I'm sleeping anywhere where there's not AC.
Yeah. So Euler, then when I had Brian Hoyer come out and do my EMF screening, much to my chagrin, this area right here where the bed is had a tremendous amount of geopathic stress. So like under this house, there's some ley lines or water lines or something that's causing the geopathic stress. So when he went through with those, what are those rods called?
Dowsing
rods. Like right when you cross, right across the middle of the bed, they go boing, and it's like just off the charts. So I got this pad from him by GeoVital. GeoVital Academy for Building Geobiology and Radiation Shielding, geovital.com. And it's a geopathic stress shielding. It's called a satellite. And so you put this thing at a diagonal angle anywhere near where there's a geopathic stress zone. I don't know how this shit works, but you go back across it with the dowsing rods and you're totally clean. So
that bastard, he told me to move my bed. He didn't tell me about this.
He didn't tell you about the pad. Yeah. I mean, it's kind of a pain in the ass to, move it.
My wife wasn't going to F around with the feng shui of our bedroom.
Right.
Because we did have a little geopathic stress in our bedroom, not in my kid's bedroom, but in our bedroom. So that's perfect. I'll get one of those.
Yeah, I mean, I'd have to move my bed over there to get away from it. And this is like where the bed's supposed to go. It's like sleeping in a little tree house. Yeah. Then the other thing is from, and I know you know this guy, Andreas, the German guy, because you have the same pants.
Yeah, he makes pants and a shirt and a hat that I can travel with on the airplane.
So now he made a little sleeping bag, Faraday sheet. It's not a sleeping bag because it's not thick. It's just a sheet. And so you sleep inside this like a sleeping bag, and then the whole thing closes over your head and you're completely shielded. It's super sick. Yeah, so he gave it to me.
Does it breathe pretty well and stay pretty cool?
I mean, without the chili pad or without the Euler, I'd be bummed.
I mean, if I was in a hotel with a lot of, all the Wi-Fi signals coming in through the window, big city, whatever, that'd be actually a pretty good solution.
I used it on an airplane. I look like a fucking nut, but I don't really care because I am a nut.
Yeah.
And I just
Why wouldn't you just wear like his pants and his shirt on the airplane?
I don't have a shirt.
Okay.
Yeah, he gave me the pants, and I have these great underwear called Get Lambs.
Mm-hmm.
It's really great EMF underwear. There's a company, Faraday, that make them too. Theirs are just shielded like in the front, which is great. They're more comfortable. They're real thin. The Lambs are shielded all the way around. So those on the plane. What's it, Andreas's company called? GTC?
I don't remember.
We'll put it in the... I feel so bad.
He'll eventually, I think, go mainstream. But
I feel bad
to find German company.
I don't remember the name of his. It's like XTC, CTX Studios. We'll put it in the show notes. But yeah, this thing's genius for travel. And because I have a little RF coming in ambiently and I'm single right now, I've been experimenting with sleeping with this. And it also, you can ground it if it's appropriate. It just depends on what's going on. So the way I'm going to ground it is throw a wire out the window of my bedroom into the dirt outside, and then ground this. And when there's no female in my life that I don't want to be isolated from, I've been sleeping in this thing.
So if you look at this, Clint Ober at Ultimate Longevity sells, this is a fixed, or is this via button?
No, it buttons.
Looks like a button. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, the buttons that Clint Ober sells would probably fit into this, but he's got like these long 30-foot cables with a stake at the end of them.
I have one.
So you could get one of those, plug it in here, and just toss it out the window and stick it into the ground.
Yeah, check it, dude.
Yeah. Because that's what I do at my desk, is I've got a grounding mat from Clint Ober's website, and there's just like a cable going. Yeah, exactly. So
this guy right here.
All you'd need is... Yeah, see, that's not going to attach, but he sells...
Well, this has an alligator clip.
He sells these little buttons that'll probably attach, or this...
Here, check it.
Yeah, so you could just like tape, as long as there's metal...
There's an alligator clip that connects...
Tape that, button this on.
Look at it. Yeah. This actually came with this little clip, so you could do that, and then you could go boink.
Yep, perfect. And then you toss this out, put in the ground, and you're grounded.
Yeah, cool, right?
Yeah. Neat.
I mean, I'm looking forward to more people making travel shit. I'm not always going to do it at home because my room doesn't have much EMF anyway, but I've just been experimenting with my sleep scores.
Yeah.
Strange thing, when I installed the Somavedic units, all three of them, the first night, I slept 10 hours.
Yeah.
It knocked me out. Then the first few nights with this, my HRV was like 36. Normally it's around 55. This killed my HRV for the first few nights. And now my HRV is normal.
Wow.
And my sleep's normal because I've gotten used to the 3 Somavedics and sleeping in this. So
cool.
Interesting development. Mostly, I think, for travel, though.
Yeah.
And just to be that guy on the airplane.
Yeah. The other thing that you could kind of get a similar effect with if you weren't sleeping on one of those PEMF mats would just be a grounding or an earthing mat. That's going to reduce a lot of the inflammation related to EMF. Just lay it under the sheet while you're asleep.
You know what, though?
I do travel with those.
When I tested, again, with Brian Hoyer over here, which we made a big video of too, I've yet to put it out, but we tested my my grounding mat and I had it plugged in outside the window. But because of the electrical fields in the room, he tested my skin voltage meter when I'm grounded is much worse than when I'm not grounded. So in this particular bedroom, I stopped sleeping grounded. But then I figured I could turn off all the breakers, so I'm probably good again. But that's the thing, grounding is really weird if you don't properly test with an EMF specialist. Yeah. You can be making it worse because you become the conduit.
If there's a lot of power traveling through the ground where you have to stake in. Yeah, for me, it's a moot point because I'm out in the middle of the forest.
Yeah, so you're stoked. But anyway, the grounding thing is a little complex. You have to really like do the skin voltage meter test to figure it out. So anyway, that's it. We're done with the bedroom.
Cool. Nice bedroom.
One last thing, I'm just going to show him in the bathroom, and then we'll go outside and do that, which I think is going to be substantially faster.
Well, I see you've got a shower filter, first of all.
Yeah, so in here we've got 2 shower filters. The big double header is from Pristine Hydro. It does chloramine, which is what we have in LA, versus chlorine. You need a little different filter medium. And gets out a substantial amount of the fluoride too, which is really hard to get out.
It's so important. People put in their water filters under the sink or like a countertop water filter, and then they shower and just get completely covered in chloramines and anything else that's in the water, straight through the skin. And these shower head filters, I mean, you can see it on the video. If you watch the video, they're super easy to rig up. Yeah, you can buy trial versions.
I put 2 just to be safe. Yeah. The first one is by Omica. Mm-hmm. And then the second one in line is Pristine Hydro. Between the 2 of them, that water comes out pretty clean. Yeah. I mean, I still wouldn't drink it outside of an emergency, but it's definitely good for showering. Yeah. And then this is the other Somavedic. And this one has like a little less blue light than some of the other ones. This is I forget, it's like the pneumatic one, but this one is the one that's strong enough for 5G according to them. Oh, wow. And so that's why I put this one closest to the bedroom. Yeah. Yeah. Just because...
Especially in LA.
Yeah, it's just nuts. I mean, we don't have 5G right in this area, but yeah, this thing's been cool. And then the other thing is, which I know you have too, is the Blue Shield. Yeah, this guy right here, the Blue Shield Cube, which I have an interesting anecdotal story about this one, because with the Somavedic and the Blue Shield, to the skeptic and science-minded person, they're a bit of a tough sell, because you can come in here with an EMF meter and test the RF fields and they don't change at all. on a meter if you install these. But with the Blue Shield, in my last apartment, I was having all these problems with vision, brain fog, vertigo, dizziness. It was fucking horrible. And I didn't know what it was until one day. And then I had installed one of these just because, well, I'm sure there's EMF around and I know about scalar waves and I believe in the technology. Basically creates a harmonious field that doesn't block the EMFs, but it gives something your body to resonate with so that it doesn't resonate with the EMFs, basically.
Right.
So one day after I'd interviewed Jack Cruz and he reminded me how important sun gazing is, I'd been doing my mornings because I had a direct line of sight to the sunrise. So I was on that and I thought, man, I got to get the sunset. So I went across the street to an office building that's 3 stories high across the street. And I sneak out onto the roof. And right when I get to the top of the roof where the doors are, all these warning, radiation, Verizon, warning.
Oh, God.
I saw those signs. I'm like, you got to be kidding me, dude. Like, me of all people. If you don't know about that stuff, you're like, oh, whatever. But I know how bad it is. So anyway, about 100 to, well, maybe exaggerating, probably 200 yards from my bed are 2 massive multi-tower cell towers pointed right at my bedroom. And so that was what was causing all of those issues, that my vision went bad and all this stuff. And to know that the Blue Shield is not placebo, I had had the Blue Shield in my place for about 6 months before I knew I was living next to the cell towers, and all my symptoms had gone away.
Wow.
I didn't relate it to the Blue Shield because I didn't know the symptoms were from poisoning from the cell towers. So after I moved, I was like, oh shit, it was the Blue Shield, dude. Yeah. It was impossible for it to be placebo because I wasn't even paying attention to
I had a client who did
EMFs.
Nothing except install that Blue Shield cube throughout his house and get the personal device that you place on your body.
Yeah.
I keep one in my fanny pack.
Yeah, me too.
And every marker of inflammation, CRP, fibrinogen, cytokines, everything dropped to rock bottom from elevated levels after 2 weeks of using that.
Wow.
So, I mean, it works. Everything's anecdotal. There's no big, huge human clinical research studies. But if you're concerned that you're EMF sensitive, you just want to mess around with it and see if it works. I think the Blue Shield devices are pretty cool.
Yeah, I do too. I'm now traveling with the Somavedic and the Blue Shield to put in my hotel rooms. And then I keep the little Blue Shield pocket model with me whenever I leave the house.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of this is the Joe Dispenza, Bruce Lipton, biology of belief kind of thing. Like, if you're paranoid of everything hurting you, it is hurting you. If you have a resilience and you're building your magnetic field psychologically and spiritually, you're more impervious to these things. But I just like hitting it from all angles. Yeah. So it's like that fine line of awareness and fear. So there's these things around. I'm going to plug them in everywhere. Yeah. They can't hurt, but at the same time,
that's a very good point. It's not going to hurt you. Aside from perhaps your pocketbook.
Yeah, totally.
And even
it can
a lot of these devices, they do have return policies. You can try it out, see how you feel.
You know what's crazy, dude? Blue Shield, I asked them, because I was just getting some tests. They did some interesting HRV testing, live blood cell analysis, and they did some testing on cows and chickens, which was very compelling. And I was asking them, like, how do you guys prove that this works since it doesn't affect an EMF meter? And they emailed me back and said that they have a 1 or 2% return rate.
Yeah.
It's like no one returns them because you feel better.
Yeah.
So it's like, if these things were bullshit, and the same, I don't know what their return rate is with Somavedic, but they have a really liberal return policy. I forget what it is, but you have plenty of time to give it back and they give all your money back. No one wants their money back because you feel better.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that or we're all just a bunch of like rich effers with too much time to order shit and forget to return it. Sorry for the language, kids.
That could be part of it as well. All right, so that's it for upstairs. The last stop, we're going to go out to the Zen Den, the biohacking lounge. We're going to just check out a couple things out there and do an ice bath, and that we're going to call it. We'll be right back at you after this brief but important announcement. I've known for a long time that the cannabis plant and the hemp plant are very powerful healing plants. And I was really excited to see some of the government regulations ease up over the past couple years and to be able to watch all of these CBD products flood the market. Now, that's a good thing and it's a bad thing. It's good because, wow, now we've got, the opportunity to really research this plant more, to be able to make its use more widespread and safe. You can get many products now that aren't psychoactive. However, I'd be careful with the drug tests. But anyway, you can use the cannabis plant without getting high. You can actually use it as a health product. The problem is that there's so many CBD products on the market now, it's really difficult to choose the one that actually works. So my money right now is on Onda Wellness. I'm really excited to tell you about them. I've been using their products for a couple months now, and I'm finding it to be very, very effective. And this has a lot to do with the fact that it's a full spectrum oil, meaning all of the constituents that make this medicine work for you are present in the plant, and no chemicals at all, even alcohol, are used in the extraction process. So they've invented a proprietary extraction process that gives you the good stuff out of the plant that actually has a medicinal effect without adding any toxins or chemicals to it. And of course, obviously, if I'm going to talk about it on this show, it's organically grown. I mean, that goes without saying, right? So if you want to check out CBD, if you want to get relaxed, if you want to ease up your anxiety, improve your sleep, that's what I use this stuff for. It's pretty awesome, actually. And I just had some before I cut this recording about 20 minutes ago. I'm not even kidding. So go to ondawellness.com. That's ONDA Wellness, ondawellness.com. Enter the code Luke15 at checkout and save yourself a cool 15%. That's ondawellness.com. The code is Luke15. Check it out. And now back to the interview. All right, so now that we've covered the inside of the house, we're going to head upstairs to the Zen Den, which is where I do all of the really freaky stuff, including the ice bath. You know, this is where we have all the biohacking technologies and things like that. So follow us up.
The Zen Den.
Yeah, buddy.
Dangerous.
It's the most peaceful place on the property.
It's nice that you got this little place back here behind the main spot.
Yeah, it's where I spend a lot of time, actually. It's less distracting.
You got your trampoline back here, your X3 bar.
Yeah.
You're not a true biohacker unless you have a mini trampoline.
Oh, dude,
everybody knows that.
Go ahead and have a seat over here.
Okay.
I'm going to give you a little bit of a tour. A lot of these things you're going to be familiar with. So what we've got going on up here is the Juve red light panel.
Mm-hmm.
With the Vibe plate, because why not vibrate while you're getting your Juve on?
Why not?
And then this guy over here is the biocharger. Have you used this thing yet?
I have used it, or I've had it used on me. I admittedly have never done a podcast on it. I haven't looked into the technology much, but it makes cool sounds and whiz-bang lights.
Yeah, it uses a combination of the Tesla coil, PEMF, and also these vials here are full of noble gases. And so when you turn it on and light it up, which I might as well just do.
Noble gases.
Which you can also get from eating a lot of legumes.
Mm-hmm.
It does a little something like this. Now, normally there's there's an arc rod. That happens too. Normally there's an arc rod up on the top that actually produces a little bit of ozone. But when the arc rod's on there, it makes a lot of noise.
Yeah, I was going to say, this is quieter than what I've seen before in a biocharger.
As it goes through the different frequencies, it will produce a lot of noise. So I put a different setting on the top. But
so right now, with what you have turned it on to, what frequency is it producing?
This one is 7 hertz right at the moment. But it runs through, each recipe has all different frequencies. And so some of them are very energizing. Some of them are very calming. So what I'll do is I'll come up here and do the new calm, which now we don't have the cream and the little electrodes, but you have a little sticker dealio.
Yeah, I've done a podcast with the guy from New Calm, and I still swear by that thing. And yeah, he now has the option, instead of getting the GABA cream that you'd put on your neck, to instead get that sticker that you place over, kind of like almost like the acupressure point on the lower arm, and it's basically embedded with the same frequencies as the GABA cream. So you get this inhibitory neurotransmitter release without having to mess around with the cream.
And it knocks you on your ass. And I keep
losing the discs. That's the only problem.
I know. So I put this little sweatband here just to look cool and keep the disc on. And then there's an app that has these crazy ass.
Yeah, the 20-minute power nap function on the New Calm is the most amazing thing ever. It knocks me out. Right? I do 2 of those in a row if I just need to check myself out and I don't have time to go to sleep, or I know I won't be able to go to sleep, and it just works amazingly.
The new calm in conjunction with some of the settings on here is super powerful because you can set this on like the theta or the one called the pineal experience and listen to the new calm. Something I've been messing around a little bit with the new calm and this whole setup up here to go into altered states, including an experiment I did the other day with a microdose of ketamine during meditation, is I'll put on my Joe Dispenza guided meditations where he takes you through the different energy centers and stuff. And I'll put...
And where are you getting those?
Download from his site.
Meditations.
Yeah, I'm not one for guided meditations because I do Vedic meditation. I don't need a guide. I just go into the zone. I've been doing it for a long time. But his are very specific. So what I'll do is I'll put in this set of headphones with Joe Dispenza's voice, and then I'll put on the noise canceling headphones with that and put myself into this programmable theta
state. You've got meditation going at the same time as the new calm.
Yeah. And so then
I like that little audio set.
I'll be brainwashing myself because I'm making myself so receptive between the waves that the biocharger is putting off.
Are you staying lucid during the meditation, or is the new calm kind of... Because for me, the new calm causes me to pass back and forth from like a unconscious to a conscious state or a subconscious to a conscious state. So I'd imagine you're just kind of getting osmosis.
Very much, yeah. And my idea there was that if I'm putting my brain in this very programmable, in the most positive sense, theta state, that whatever information I'm exposed to is going to really stick in the subconscious. And that's why I've been experimenting putting the Dispenza meditations underneath the new calm, because I know I'm super programmable because I am in this kind of half asleep theta state, which is like my favorite feeling. That's why I love to meditate. But I thought I might as well just stack them.
Yeah.
Or even like I've been doing hypnotherapy and she records the sessions and those are about 20 minutes. So if I do the 20-minute New Calm nap, that's the New Calm app, which is their very specific audio programs that they have, which take like an hour to download. They're really dense files. I'll run the hypnosis session in the little headphones and then do the new calm over that to like accentuate the hypnotic effect.
And where are you getting the hypnosis sessions?
I have a woman named Alexis Hoven that comes over and does them and records them.
So they're customized.
Yeah, because I'll tell her whatever I'm working on. I'm working on, romantic relationships, or working on a sense of self-worth so that I can have more financial abundance, like things that I know I'm being blocked from by subconscious beliefs, early traumas, things like that are preventing me or holding me back from accessing different levels of success or abundance. And so hypnosis is a way of reprogramming your subconscious mind that's holding those beliefs that you're not worthy, you don't deserve it, you're not smart enough, like all that bullshit that some of us suffer from that hold us back. So you can do affirmations all day long, but that's your conscious mind. You have to get through to the subconscious, right?
Yeah.
So stacking that's why I call this the Zen Den, because I don't do any kind of work up here. All I do in this space is all healing or just psychological or spiritual work. And so stacking these, and at the same time, just to be nuts, this is the Vital Reaction hydrogen inhaler.
Okay.
And so this produces 7% hydrogen gas. And if I'm going to be sitting here anyway for 20 minutes to an hour, I'll just put this on. So
a little neural anti-inflammatory effects.
Exactly.
Actually, really, if you're breathing it in full body, it's anti-inflammatory.
Yeah. So it's...
And who makes this hydrogen water inhaler?
These are the guys in Boulder that I introduced you to via email. They also make tabs. They're called Vital Reaction.
Okay.
Yeah, really great company. I've been working with them for a while, and they don't make a hydrogen water machine. They do the inhaler with the cannula, or you just get the tabs and you drink it.
Yeah.
But they're super solid. And I've had this thing for a couple of years. I've even dropped it. It's never broken. It works every single time I turn it on. No bullshit. 7%. You've got your little reader there. And then I have True Dark red sticker on it because it produces that. And then here's the True Dark film, because I'm going to put this over this thing.
Yeah.
Because when I come up here at night, I get blasted in the face.
Smart.
And when it's dark in here, the blue light is so strong.
I would imagine.
So that, and then I recently decided to add the Fisher-Wallace into it too.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes I'll do the Fisher-Wallace
to getting a little vagal nerve stimulation from the Fisher-Wallace, which is actually excellent for, based on their studies, decreasing your cortisol levels.
Right.
And that's a cool device. You use that at the same time as the Calm?
Yeah.
Wow.
This with the new Calm, with the Joe Dispenza, with this on the theta frequencies.
That's a lot of things.
It's self-experimentation, and like we were saying earlier, like, can you live a happy life without all this bullshit? Oh my God, totally.
Yeah.
Just meditate for 20 minutes, get some sun, have a good life. But it's my hobby. It's like,
yeah, it's fun to experiment. That's going to shock me.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah, don't touch metal when that's on.
Oh wow, good to know. Yeah, it's fun to experiment with this stuff. And guys like you and I are not necessarily doing this stuff so that we can then turn around and tell everybody to do everything. But when we find the stuff that's really cool, that really works, the stacks, so to speak, that aren't supplement stacks like we were talking about in your kitchen, but are biohacking stacks, these disparate biohacking companies spread around the globe, they don't necessarily develop a new calm and then test that with a Circadia, in the presence of a biocharger with hypnotic tracks or with Dispenza meditation tracks. But what's cool is, then there's, I guess, more or less almost like pioneers like you and I who will dig into this stuff and turn around to people and say, yo, we just found something really cool where you can combine all this stuff together, the vibration platform with the infrared, or your Faraday protection cage in there in the bedroom with the grounding cable. And I think this stuff's a ton of fun to experiment with and just figure out what stacks effectively.
I think for me, it's like if I'm going to sit here for 20 minutes and spend time doing something and there's 10 things sitting here,
right,
I might as well just plug in all 10 things.
It's smart from a time efficiency standpoint.
It's the same amount of time.
I'm typing articles on my desk. I've got the Juve light on. I've got the Nano V on. I'm on a grounding mat. I've got an essential oil diffuser going, and I'm like wearing the V light. And it's wonderful to be able to be productive at the same time, working on an article or talking on the phone and enhancing my body simultaneously, shutting down inflammation, fighting that uphill battle effectively that we all have to fight in this post-industrialized era. We're bombarded with Wi-Fi and the cell towers that you experienced, and the toxins and the rocket fuel from walking onto the airplane and the brake dust from the highways. It's just nice to be able to mitigate some of those things we experience when we are living in a modern world, and we're not necessarily privileged with being able to have a career and provide for our families while living on a pristine Himalayan mountaintop, right? So we use a lot of this stuff to help us out.
Well said. So that's pretty much it for up here. Other than that, we've got the clear light sauna. Mm-hmm. And then also what I did is I put one of the smaller sauna space infrared lights inside the clear light.
Is that pretty heat stable? You're not concerned?
Oh yeah, it's very heat stable. These are the hand blown glass. It's quite thick. I've left it in here for over an hour.
Oh wow.
And it's also got a protective
even with your
case.
sauna jacked up to 158 or
the highest setting.
Huh.
Yeah. I mean, it's got a protective thing, and you got to be careful not to touch this. It'll burn the shit out of you and brand you like a cow. Yeah. But I'll use this on the old testes.
Yeah.
On the thyroid, different spot checks, tendinitis, stuff like that. And it also just helps to heat it up.
Cool.
I did get a warning from Clearlight being like, oh, don't put stuff in our sauna because it could break. But I checked with Sauna Space. They're like, nope, these bulbs are hot enough on their own. If they were going to break, they'd break just from having it on. And so the ambient heat in here doesn't really heat the air. It heats your tissue.
Good to know. Yeah. I've had no problems. I had a bulb explode in my Clearlight, but it may not have been a Sauna Space. I don't recall which brand I had in there, but I did have a bulb explode at one point.
I doubt it was, based on talking to Brian, the owner, about this. He's like, dude, the glass on those things is so thick that thing heats up so much hotter than your sauna.
Yeah.
If it was going to break, it would break itself.
Cool.
And then this one down here, I'll let you move off. This one down here is 4 of the Sauna Space incandescent bulbs. Yeah, this thing is really great. So what I'll do when I'm doing breath work on the sheepskin here is I'll crank this guy up as a little precursor to doing an ice bath or just getting some blood flow, or even just the red light therapy at night.
The Cookie likes it too, you can tell.
She loves being in the sauna.
Yeah.
Yeah, she'll go in, and then I know when she starts to pant, I go, okay, outside. And she was like, yeah, I'm done. But she loves the red light, and she loves the sauna. So yeah, that's it for in here.
I like the Zen Den. It's a good setup.
All right, I'm going to throw my shorts on and we'll get in this ice bath.
All right. You always have to warm up for an ice bath by jumping up and down on a trampoline. Otherwise, the ice bath is a waste of time. Horribly ineffective. It's a great way to put on a lot of muscle and get jacked. Jump up and down on a trampoline. I'm joking, but it's good for lymph flow. I have one in my living room close to my office. In between when I'm taking breaks from work, I'll just jump up and down for a little while just to get some blood flowing. All right.
Okay. So, you ready?
Rock and roll.
Okay, so here we are at the homemade ice bath. Now, for complete plans on this ice bath, you can Google Luke Ben Greenfield ice bath, and I sent him all of the plans.
I have all the plans published on my website. Yours and Rick Rubin's set up. And I also, I don't know if I told you this, you have a shout out in my new book, because I put some of the stuff in there too and talk about your setup. So,
thanks, dude. I appreciate that.
Yeah, there's a new company I'm looking into now called Morozco Forge that does like a 31 to 32 degree ice bath that stays at that temperature, even like 110 degrees of ambient.
Oh, that's so awesome.
It's like a unit like this they ship to your house. So
this guy here looks a lot cooler from the outside because I had my handyman build a case, but inside you have a Sears chest freezer, and I just filled it up. So it's only at about 47 right now. Usually I keep it at 35 to 40, but I changed the water yesterday because I knew I had company. They'll still get your attention. And then I put a copper ground wire in it that's screwed into the ground with a big corkscrew stainless steel plug so that you're grounded while you're in here. Another important thing, let me step beside you here, Ben.
Yeah.
Another important thing about it to regulate the temperature is to have it on a timer, which is like a Christmas light timer. But you always want to make sure it's turned off before you get in. You don't want to get in something electric with water in it. Super important. So you can tell it's on because the light will be on or off. So as long as I have it on timer, mine's set to come on like 3 or 4 hours in the middle of the night, and that keeps it at the right temperature. And other than that, it's like a one and done.
Cool. And then you clean with, what do you do, food grade hydrogen peroxide?
You know what I do to clean it? Sometimes I bring my ozone generator up here and I dip the water ozonator in there and I'll run it for like an hour.
Yeah.
But I had this old stuff. This is like some old school, like raw food vegan era shit from the early 2000s that ended up probably going bankrupt. It's called Adya Clarity. And this is what people were using back in the day to purify drinking water.
Cool.
And then it came out that it was really unsafe. But basically they're sulfate minerals, and you pour maybe half a cup in here, and in 24 hours you'll see all of the impurities in the tap water, and all of the hardness, all the minerals, all floats to the bottom and makes like this brown dust.
Sulfate minerals.
Yeah, it's crazy. Huh. So it's a really great water purification. Cool. But then
Adya.
Yeah, and I don't know if they sell it anymore because there was a lot of controversy. It was back in the
Adya water.
It was some hippie shit they had. Huh. And then this is the shower filter that I used to fill it up, which is like a garden hose filter that takes out some of the chlorine and heavy metals and toxins and stuff. So first I filter that, then I do the Adya Clarity, and then I just change the water when it starts to get funky from germs and stuff. Cool. You want to go first or second?
Dig it. Sure. I'll jump in. So in many cases, before you do an ice bath, if you really want to pair the breath work to the ice bath, you can do kind of a breathe up to prepare your nervous system. And that would involve, for example, you can do this seated or lying or squatting if you're concerned about passing out, for example. But you just do a series and sometimes a few rounds of just like a basic. You can do about 30 breaths. You'll generally hold that exhale as long as you can. Gives you a little bit of a nitric oxide release. And usually a few rounds of that really prepares your nervous system if you're going to do a long cold soak. And then you just get in.
There's also a bolt on your butt end, so careful not to sit on the bolt.
A bolt. Okay.
Yeah, it's where the plug is in the bottom.
Which way do you usually go? You face
butt on that end.
So you face this way?
Yeah. Then your feet won't. Your feet will hit the bolt instead of your butt. It's taking them a while to find a plug that doesn't hurt.
And the key with the ice bath is to train yourself to kind of suppress that sharp intake of breath, that mammalian dive reflex. That's kind of that sympathetic response. You kind of want to train yourself to not engage in that, and to instead engage in some kind of breathing that kind of settles the body as you're in the bath. I like a box breathing or a 4-8 breathing. So box breathing is 4 count in, 4 count hold, 4 count out, 4 count hold. And the 4-8 breathing is simply 4 count in, 8 count out. And I like to do the out count through pursed lips. If you want a little bit extra vagal nerve activation when you exhale, you can kind of make a humming noise like this. 4 count in. Because the ice bath is going to help with your nervous system tone as it is, but humming, chanting, singing, gargling, all of that will enhance it a little bit. And then if you can, you always want to get the face under, because that's where you get the most amount of cranial nerve and vagal nerve activation. And like Luke and I were talking about in the kitchen, you can do 2 minutes, you can do 5 minutes. Once you get past about 10 minutes, sometimes you will find you get that hypoglycemic drop. It can tend to get a little bit stressful if you overdo it. But I personally like about the 2 to 5 minute sweet spot. And if you're doing rounds between the ice bath and a bike or a trampoline, or rounds between the ice bath and the sauna, sometimes you can, go shorter than that, or do like a 3-minute ice bath, 3-minute exercise, back to the ice bath, etc. So I'll give Luke a chance to get his chill on.
I crave this water.
Oh, it feels so good.
Yeah, we got up easy today. It's only at about 48.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's a bit more jarring. But you still, from what I understand, as long as it's under 55, you still
under about
benefits,
55, you're getting a lot of the benefits.
But I think you really nailed the main point, and that is to keep your breath regulated.
Yeah.
I find most people that aren't used to this, when they get in there instinctively, I mean, it's
grit the teeth, tighten the jaw.
It's funny too, because like I've dunked really tough fucking guys in this thing, just big ripped burly men's men, and they get in here.
Yeah.
It always cracks me up.
Like muscularity, fitness, etc., is not necessarily synonymous with vagal nerve tone or the ability to be able to quickly activate the parasympathetic nervous system. And just because you're yang doesn't mean you're zen.
Right. And I'm halfway joking. I'm not trying to like clown, because that would be obvious that I'm jealous that I'm not a huge ripped beast of a man. But it's just funny. Like, you think, oh, someone's really tough, and then you get them in here and you're like, whoa, dude, why is this so hard? But it's just that you have to, you have to tone your nervous system in order to handle different types of stress, whether it's, having a confrontational negotiation at work or disagreement with or someone you're having a relationship with or getting an ice bath. It's all the same nervous system that freaks out.
Right.
And the same techniques work to calm your nervous system no matter what the external stressor is.
Yeah.
And so this is a good teacher for me to learn how to breathe.
Yeah.
If you get in here and you just, even one or two of those right when I get in. I mean, today it's not very cold. It's 48, so it's kind of refreshing. But when it's 35,
yeah,
I'll still get that when I get in for a second. But if I take a couple deep breaths, I get this really calm, meditative state.
Yeah, the more stressed you are on any given day, the more difficult that ice bath is, just because it's that much more tricky to downregulate the sympathetic nervous system.
This is a question I got for you, which I'm pretty convinced I have the answer for intuitively. But what I used to do is I would work out and, do some kind of weight training or whatever. And then I would take an ice bath because I love just cooling down the inflammation and not being sore. And then I got to thinking, if you're trying to build muscle, you want inflammation after you work out. So now I do an ice bath, then I work out.
Yeah, doing the cold first can really elevate your ability to be able to work out harder afterwards. As long as the cold isn't so long that the muscles are getting super duper cold, because then you got to warm them back up. Cold after is only going to blunt the muscle building response if it is significant. 10 minutes or longer is sufficient to drop the muscle temp enough to where you don't get that inflammatory response. But a quick cold soak after workout is great because you decrease the core temp, you reactivate the parasympathetic nervous system. So like 2 minutes is fine, but you wouldn't want to do like a 10-minute ice bath, which unfortunately, a lot of football teams, et cetera, they got the ice baths in locker rooms. A lot of people are doing that post-scrimmage or post-workout. But you save that longer cold exposure or that de-inflammatory type of cold stimuli for later on in the day, or at least a couple hours after the workout.
Right.
Yeah.
Noted. All right. Yeah, because I definitely notice when I do the ice bath before I work out, I'm way stronger and I get way less winded and fatigued.
Yeah. I have a whole article on my website by Brad Kearns about like just the whole mechanism behind pre-cooling before exercise, and it can have a pretty cool, pun intended, effect. So, yeah.
All right, good. I'm glad I got a chance to talk to you about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I'll do my X3 bar, right? I dry off and then I do that. And I'm like, holy shit, I can do way more reps when I'm cold than if I'm already hot.
Yeah. Well, I've got about 10 minutes before I got to be boogieing away.
Cool.
So I think we covered a lot of stuff.
We did, dude.
And
it's been great because my original plan was like, oh, cool, come over, we'll shoot a little video, and then we'll record a podcast. But the video has been so in-depth, it's like, wow, this actually is a perfect podcast.
It is. Like, we covered a lot of stuff. So I know, are we still on Facebook Live as well?
Yeah.
Cool. Well, thank you guys for coming along for the ride. Hopefully people picked up something.
Give us tell us about the book that you have coming out, because this is probably going to come out after New Year's.
So if this comes out after New Year's, then my book is now available. It's currently available for people who are watching the live for pre-order, and it's called Boundless. The entire book, all 608 pages of it, is designed to help you unlock boundless energy day in and day out. It's chock full of anti-aging and longevity protocols. It's got a ton in there on sleep hacking, on jet lag, on immune system, on mold, mycotoxins, Lyme. I just cover soup to nuts, brain, body, and also spiritual enhancement, gratitude, even delve into psychedelics and some of these energy medicine, sound medicine protocols. And it's all available right now at boundlessbook.com.
Well, thanks for coming by, man. This is the ultra hang. This is the kind of shit that I like to do when I have a guest come by.
I dig it.
So thanks for joining me.
It's way better than just sitting around stuffing our faces with Caesar salad and having a coffee or whatever.
Goddamn right.
Yeah.
All right.
Cool.
Thanks, Ben.
Thanks, you guys.
When Ben Greenfield was here, we went through the entire house, the kitchen, even the upstairs bathroom, the bedroom, the Zen Den, my biohacking lounge in the backyard. And I covered like every biohack that I do. And then when he left, I realized we didn't come in here to the podcast studio because we basically made a podcast inadvertently by talking about all the stuff in the house. And we forgot one device that I'm a huge fan of and I use literally every single day. That's why I have this funny medical cannula up my nose. It's called the Nano V by Eng3. And the way this thing works is you put distilled water in this little bottle, and this magical machine turns it into something called exclusion zone water that you then inhale. So it's a very fine water mist. It looks a little something like this. And the net effect of this is a really powerful antioxidant and anti-inflammatory. So there's different things in life that cause oxidative stress, being around EMFs, exercising, emotional stress, any kind of stress to your body or mind causes oxidation or oxidative stress. And the Nano V, when you breathe it, reduces dramatically the oxidative stress and the inflammation. So even when I take like long road trips in my car, I take the Nano V and I plug it in my car and I just breathe it as I go. What that really means in a non-scientific term is just that you have more energy. So I usually keep this thing on my desk. And when I'm sitting on my desk, maybe 2 or 3 times a day when I'm doing a lot of work, I'll just sit there and inhale this thing while I'm working at my desk. And this is just red because you can change the color of light. And when I use it at night, I don't want blue light shining out of there. So that's why it's red, but that's just clear water. And you can tell that it's going by just taking it out of your nose, and you can kind of feel the air, which is this water mist coming out of it. And the thing that I like about therapies like this is that they're passive, meaning you don't have to dedicate time and energy to go do it. In other words, I'm going to be sitting at my desk anyway. I might as well be reducing the oxidative stress that I'm experiencing while I'm there. So it's really kind of a no-brainer. There's a ton of research into this. I also did a podcast on it. You can just search Luke Story Nano V. I forget the episode number right offhand, but there is a lot of data and science to back this up. It's used by a lot of athletes. It's used by military personnel. And of course, biohackers that are just looking to optimize their mind and body. So that's the Nano V. And I wanted to make sure that I got that in because it's one of the most important parts of my health regimen at home. So there you go.
I told you guys this episode was going to blow your mind. If you made it to the end, you're a diehard because Ben and I went so deep on this episode. I want to encourage you to watch the video on YouTube. Just get to my YouTube channel and you'll find the video there. Again, you're definitely going to want to check out the show notes over at lukestory.com/podcast. Just look for the Ben Greenfield episode and you'll find it there with clickable links and tons of great discounts. So it was really a great privilege to be able to have Ben come over to the house and just teach me so much stuff and teach him a few things. Just a very cool hang. Speaking of cool, I want to thank our show sponsors. We've got some great CBD from Onda Wellness. You can go to ondawellness.com. The code there's Luke15 to save 15%. That's Onda Wellness. I'm in Costa Rica right now traveling. I took the Onda Wellness CBD on the whole flight just to stay chill. I took copious amounts of it last night. I slept a solid 10 hours and they helped a lot. Then my Raw Optics glasses, I brought those with me on this trip too. My blue blockers, you can go to rawoptics.com. That's R-A Optics, rawoptics.com. The code there's Lifestylist for 10% off. And then my friends over at Juve, you can go to juve.com/Luke and get a special gift over there. This Friday, I'll be back at you with a solo show, treating viruses, finding your tribe, brain mapping, and neuroplasticity. All of the questions I answer on that solo show are taken from the private Facebook group. Join the group, ask questions. I will answer it most likely, unless it's just an uninteresting question or one that's already been answered. I will answer it on a future solo show. So go to Facebook, search the Lifestylist Podcast, request to join, come in, join the party. So this was our Christmas show. Merry Christmas to you. And we'll be having a New Year's Eve show with a very special guest by the name of Gabby Bernstein. So here's what you got to do, guys. You got to make sure you subscribe to this podcast. So as you hear my voice right now, literally, here's what I want you to do. Please do this. You'll understand why in a moment. Reach down to the app, look for the word subscribe and click it. If you subscribe to the podcast, it really helps me because it helps my show be more searchable in iTunes. The more people subscribe, the more visible they make your show in the algorithm. So it's a really great way to support me and the work that I'm doing here. It's also a great way to support yourself because every episode that I release will be automatically downloaded to your app, so you don't have to refresh it and go look for missing episodes. So every Tuesday and even often on Fridays and sometimes Sundays when I put out bonus shows, you're going to get pinged and you're going to get new episodes of this here podcast. So as we bring this year almost to an end, I want to thank you so much for joining me. And I'm just having a blast doing this. You know, I'm doing some field recordings here in Costa Rica for the next week at Soltara Center, doing some ayahuasca ceremonies, etc. That's something I'll be releasing in the next few months as I come back and integrate and do a full-on report on that. So traveling around the world, having experiences and sharing them with you is just such a pleasure. Getting guys like Ben to come over to my house and just geek out and be able to make inspiring and educational content out of those geek outs is really such a gift. And I'm just incredibly grateful to be doing the work that I'm doing. I'm working really hard for you. I'm doing my very best to bring the most life-changing podcast on the planet to you. And I really appreciate your support and subscribing and sharing this with a friend. I mean, after all, tomorrow is Christmas Day. So what better gift that doesn't cost you any money than to just text like 5 of your friends and be like, yo, here's the dopest podcast ever. It's going to change your life. These two guys geek out so hard on all. I don't think there's been an episode ever in the history of podcasting that has geeked out this hard on health and biohacking. So if you know someone that's into that, send it their way. I'm really looking forward to doing some more great events in 2020. Wait. What is it? Yeah, 2020. That's right. The events are as follows so far, although there will be more. I'm working on some retreats and all kinds of fun stuff. But I'll be speaking at Paleo FX April 24th through 26th in Austin, Texas. And I'm guessing our guest Ben Greenfield is probably going to be there too, as he normally is. Then I'll be speaking at Meet Delic in Los Angeles, May 2nd and 3rd. That is a psychedelic symposium of sorts. It's going to be epic. I'm really excited about that. To get into any of my upcoming events, just go to lukestory.com/events and all of the tickets and information will be there. All right. Merry Christmas. Have an incredible holiday. And I can't wait to bring you Gabby Bernstein on New Year's Eve and then carry us into the new year with tons of great episodes to follow.